It's Operation Babble with Myke Shrews. It's pop culture, music, movies, TV too. It's time to explore life. It's Operation Babble time.
And we're back again.
And again,
Oh, no.
and again. But we are the Diversity Super Friends today. I'm so excited. Michael, I'm so excited. I'm feeling.
So, John, how about you introduce our guest, because you're a lot better at introducing guests.
Why would I ever do a thing like that? Well, audience, I think we've all noticed that we've gotten pretty used to hearing me and Michael complain about everything, mostly me complaining. We thought we'd get a new voice on, and I would like to introduce the lovely Melissa Butler. Would you like to say hi and tell us a little bit about yourself?
Oh, I didn't know I was going to be talking about myself.
Oh, and we just got another person in here.
Yep.
We got another person? Awesome. So, I am a writer and a filmmaker. I think we all went to together, didn't we?
Ooh,
Sure did.
we don't say that
call
name.
Call out.
Ooh, we don't
Name
say
drop.
that name on this podcast.
Don't
Well,
invoke.
we all met, so it can't
We'll
be
bleep
bad.
that. We'll go.
There we go. I swear I remember you used to do was it a lot of script soup stuff back in
I
school?
used to do a lot of art stuff.
Okay.
But I am a full-time writer now, and I do art stuff on the side.
That's awesome. I can't wait
Okay.
for your stuff to start going out. We could really use some good writers in Hollywood right now. It's just the black hole of just abysmal writing is just insane right now.
So sad. I'm working on it.
Well, good. Well, we're glad to have you here. Hopefully you'll break up the crying that I constantly do and the random nonsense Michael throws out. So this should be interesting. And hello, random
Our
new
other
person.
guest is Miguel Salas. Salas? You want to talk?
Hola.
Hola.
Woo! I feel so validated. It's like a UN meeting now. I love this. This is great. I feel so validated.
Miguel, you want to tell a little bit about yourself real quick? We just started, so you're not late at all.
Oh, yeah?
Well, I
Okay.
mean, you're late, but I mean, we just started
Yeah.
late.
Fashionably late. Nothing wrong with that.
Well, I always like to be fashionable, so I'll take fashionably late every day. So my name is Miguel Salas, and I own my own business, and we help preserve people's memories. We'll take old videotape, photographs, slides, all of that kind of stuff, and we'll convert it into digital formats. We also do create from those old media. We'll create something new, like for a wedding, like wedding videos, like from them little to the time they met together and all of that kind of stuff. Memorial videos. Right now I'm editing a dance video, dance recital that ballroom dancing that we filmed and I had to put all together, and it's due tomorrow. So that's why I wasn't sure if I was going to come in.
Well, awesome. I'm glad
But I
we
said,
can.
well, let me listen in.
I'm glad we can do a really good job of making you procrastinate.
Yeah.
But glad to have you here. I hope we come up with some good topics. This is really just us. I don't know if anybody's ever heard any of our backtrack or back catalog. Really, just Michael and I just jump in, kind of literally just two dudes talking about what did we watch yesterday, what did we see on the internet, and let's move forward and give our opinions and pretend like they mean something.
And don't forget what stupid things people have said on the internet lately.
Ooh, yeah, that's always the fun. That's always the fun.
Which Miguel, he has not listened to the cast before that I know of, because we go forever and he doesn't have like 3 hours to listen.
Yeah.
But he does hear my rants and raves whenever I go and hang out at the studio and stuff. So
I get live performances from Michael.
Well,
and he gets the raw stuff too, like either stuff even I cut out of the podcast.
yeah.
Unedited, unfiltered, raw Michael.
Well, I'll pray for you.
The stuff
Yeah.
that gets in my text.
I'll take all the prayers I can get to.
All right, so today what we're just basically gonna talk about, at least base it on anyways, diversity in entertainment or media in general. I think we all agree that diversity is a good thing
Yes.
in entertainment, right?
How could it not be?
Okay. So with that said, I need yeses so people can hear you. People
Yes,
can't see.
yes. Diversity is great.
All right, so we all agree with that. So then the next thing on that always comes into effect with that is forced diversity. And whether or not that's good, bad, if it's good for cultures, if it's bad for cultures, things like that, and how it can affect. How I always see it, it can be a bad thing, personally, with certain cultures, as if like you're basically just forcing something onto a product or things like that. Supergirl comes into effect with it a lot. And I'll use that as an example throughout the podcast. But
So when you say Supergirl, are you talking about the show?
the
that's
show,
on CW
yes, that's
now?
on CW.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Sorry.
All right. Just
I
one.
had a good one
Okay.
from since you started saying like what we watched yesterday.
No.
So I got home and I don't really watch SWAT, but that's kind of the channel that was on.
Mhm.
And then when they were running the credits at the beginning, I noticed the guy's name, and it's I think it's Daniel Lin, and so he's one of the guys that's up for the Shang-Chi movie with Marvel.
Oh yeah.
And I'm like, oh, this is the guy. And I had never seen him before or seen him act or anything. So now I'm interested in SWAT, to see, what the guy looks like and all of that kind of stuff. And he seemed like a pretty cool guy.
Awesome.
It was, he capable actor. I mean, it's TV, it's SWAT. So, it's not too much you can say. But I mean, the height, the look, the build, everything seemed to be, what you would imagine Shang-Chi being, and, being as how, I always love martial arts, and yes, I got a bunch of those comic books, I was looking very, very intently at him, which he's like, there's like, I don't know, like 12, 15 people on that show. So he had like, 5-6 minutes total,
And
but
to
anyway,
give
so that's a
reference.
a cool one,
Yeah.
that was pretty cool yesterday to see who he actually is.
Yeah.
Yeah. To give
I-
reference to on Miguel, like how much he likes the kung fu type stuff. He's a avid hater of Iron Fist
Oh, that's
because of
horrible.
how bad it
Let's
is.
let's be fair though.
Horrible.
How many people actually like that? Let's be fair.
I
Like,
don't trust anybody who likes that show.
I,
That's
for
a
real.
bad taste.
I'll tell
real.
you
God,
if you want.
I'm gonna adopt that philosophy too. If you like Iron Fist, then I don't know about you.
I got a few movies on my list that are like my litmus test of the conversation I'm about to have with someone, and I go, okay, I'm gonna dial it back here, here, and here because I've had this argument before.
Well, see, that's just nice of you. If you like certain things, I may not be able to hold a conversation with you.
It's hard, man. I'd like because we've had let's see. I'll just throw them out there right now. Batman v Superman's gonna get topics. I'm a hater right now. Endgame is up there with me. I'm one of the people who didn't quite resonate with me. That one kind of missed me. Whoa, God, what was the last one that just came out? Last Jedi, the Star Wars Last Jedi.
Okay.
I was like, yeah, they're brutal. they're a little brutal. Endgame was good, fan service.
Well, to
It
be
did what it
fair,
needed to do
too,
stuff.
Star Wars: The Last Jedi, even Mark Hamill hates that. So, and he was like in it most of the movie.
Oof. Could you imagine being him? It's like 30 years later, you're like, oh my God, I'm gonna hang out with all my friends again, and we're gonna be all our characters again, and we're gonna hang out. It's gonna be fun. They're like, oh yeah, by the way, you kind of don't see anybody.
And you
It's like,
hate
what?
your
Wait, what?
life. You hate the
and
whole
you
thing
want to just go die
that
somewhere.
we built
It's like,
up
what?
everywhere.
It's like, oh, all right.
But
that's cool.
no, with Iron Fist, I will say though, if you want to see a good Iron Fist, watch the last like 4 minutes of the last episode of the last season, and then you'll be good.
I would agree with that. 'Cause
Yeah.
Although I hate Iron Fist, shows that I hate, I do play in the background when I'm writing to hear noise, but I don't have to like really pay
And to
attention.
know not what to write.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's very helpful. So, yeah, the last 4 minutes actually is decent.
Yeah.
Or anything with Danny Rand and Luke Cage together. Like,
Which they only did that in Luke Cage.
I know.
For like
It was
one
the only
episode.
it was the only good stuff. Like, and that was what made the cartoons cool, is when they buddy copped up, because they like, you know, it's like him being bulletproof and Danny Rand kind of being like, well, I can really only do stuff from like, you know, like arm's length, and like every now and then he could do like something cool, but it was just like, the teamwork was always neat.
Yeah.
I don't know. I like
Which
teamwork
honestly,
stuff.
and I'll round it back into like our main thing too. But like, if they would have done a show with Luke Cage and Iron Fist together like that, that would have been a good show with diversity in it.
Diversity.
Right there that they're always wanting, and it would have freaking worked. Like, and I know Netflix probably had no say in that, because Netflix probably would have just been like, we'll run the gambit on everything. Let's go.
They're like, sure, whatever. It's fine.
Yeah. And if you think about it, that's diversity going back to what, the 70s?
Right.
The Iron, you know, it's like it's been in the comic books. You know what I mean? Like, at certain levels, diversity has been in the comic books.
Yeah.
So,
Well, always,
Hollywood
pretty
hadn't caught up.
much for the most part, diversity's always been through in the comics. It's just like in the entertainment industry, it's become one of those things where it's segregated a lot in different things, especially when you look at music. Like country music, do you really see anything but a bunch of white dudes singing country?
Whoa,
songs?
calm down.
Every
Darius
now and
Rucker,
then,
how dare you?
We'll have an Aaron Neville.
Yeah.
Oh gosh, the guy who was
Hootie,
Rucker.
man.
yes,
Hootie.
Rucker.
Every
Darius
now and then,
Rucker,
My
You'll get a black dude. And also, like, in the South, country music is really big with older black people.
Yeah.
And you find a lot of us singing and creating our own country songs, but it never really makes it mainstream.
Right.
Yeah.
Or it's either changed into something mainstream and taken by another artist.
Because I was about to say, I think Michael's never been to a fish boil down south yet, like crab boil. Like, come on, man.
He's
Trying to tell me you don't see
I
black people
grew up
running
in the
country
city,
right now?
and then I grew
Come
up
on
in the
now.
mountains in West Virginia. Give me a break. Come on.
Oh, banjo music. My bad.
And now I live
I
in
knew better.
Florida, the shithole of everything.
Hey, could been Detroit. Calm down.
I would have preferred Detroit. I used to hang out in Detroit all the time. I would have preferred that.
Can I ask before we move forward? I don't know if anybody gives a crap about sports, but how did the two big cat teams end up being the two worst teams located in the worst cities? The Detroit Lions and the Jacksonville Jaguars. I do see that poster in the back, so yes. I am making that reference.
No, I disagree. I will strongly disagree on that one.
Come on, Blake Bortles. You're supposed to be the hero.
We've had some good teams. Yeah, it's been some dry times.
You had a good run though. Like 2 seasons ago, they got pretty close to the postseason. They were doing good. Got pretty far in, almost Super Bowl.
They've been to the AFC Championship game.
Was it 2
3
years ago?
times in their 25-year history. So,
Probably
well,
better than
no,
the
I take that
Vikings.
back. 4 times in their 25-year history. So,
Your track
That's a lot
record's about
better
as good
than-
as my Vikings, so.
yeah, another
This
one.
is a pop culture podcast,
we're-
guys. Not
we're
a
in that
sports
same team.
Sports or
podcast.
pop culture, my dude.
No,
Chill
out. Not the good
No, one
kind of
last
pop
thing.
culture.
Vikings and Jaguars are in the same never won the Super Bowl club. So so here, pound it out.
So I feel you. Solidarity.
Well, didn't they?
Okay,
didn't
we
the
can move on
Jags
now.
Jags came close to the Super Bowl like a year or two ago, right?
Don't
Yeah.
even try, Michael.
Yeah.
Don't act like you watch football.
Yeah.
No, I remember because
Well-
he told me.
Oh,
So
I gotcha.
Yeah, well, you're in Jacksonville. There's no basketball. There's like a AAA baseball. So the only thing is Jaguars. They are the biggest thing, the best thing, like everything.
yeah.
So, and by the way, that's Fred Taylor when he broke 10,000 yards. Yes, I was in the stadium.
Ooh.
And yes, they were handing those out at the stadium.
Yeah.
In case you couldn't see it real close.
Which I'll tell you this too: how good Miguel's business is.
Mhm.
Is he's like the only business the players actually come to.
Yeah.
To do like we had a guy that in there once that wanted his draft video from the 90s that he recorded on tape from TV.
Yeah. Yeah.
A
That was
big,
cool.
I don't even remember. I don't remember the football players. They come in and I'm like, I don't know who the hell you are, but okay. And then Miguel would come up and be like, "Hey, was that and then they like look like a skinny schoolgirl or something.
Oh my god.
Yeah, that one guy, he was no,
It was
no, I,
Reese
I now I
something.
can't remember. I can't remember his name, but I think he was a receiver. So he was little, kind of slight, you know. Now I don't know if you know who Kyle Brady is, but he walked in here, and it was like, you talk about somebody that looks like a football player. Like, he filled up the doorway, and he would, you know, I'm talking to him like this, you know, and I'm like, he's Kyle Brady.
See, I'd say that,
He
but
was
like,
somebody.
I'm so like, I don't have a stature that's menacing in any way, so I pretty much feel like I look up to everyone, so that's always cool.
Yeah.
But
I'm not little, so.
But I was trying to think, because so we did get into Iron Fist, we got into Luke Cage, and these were like characters that were, I mean, I guess
Iron Fist was one of those characters which was funny because in the comics, he's a white guy.
Yeah.
But
With
when it
Chinese
came out,
culture, it's Shaolin, so Shaolin's Chinese, correct?
Yep.
yeah.
Chinese.
Yep.
So, I mean, I guess.
But I remember when the show came out, people gave them shit for making Iron Fist a white guy on the
And see,
show when he's a
and
white
this is-
guy in the
and this-
comics.
And this is a good segue, I think, into that, where I think this is where you see the nonsense start to happen. Is like, that's part of his storyline, is that it's a fish out of water guy who doesn't know the culture, who gets thrown into the culture and has to learn how to use it, you know?
And that's exactly what the topic is, that forced diversity.
Yeah.
You know, it's like that. I love comic books, and I grew up reading them. So to me, it's like whatever stays the closest to the source material is what's gonna. Some things, you could change around a little bit. You know,
I mean, they did Nick Fury. They changed him, and it was probably for the best. Because I remember the Nick Fury before.
But see, this is the argument I got to make, because I'm not okay. I should really look this up because I swore it was true. They made the ultimate.
Yes,
Marvel
they
line.
made.
They made Nick Fury look like Samuel Jackson,
Yes.
and then they casted him for the movies.
Him, yeah.
So
That's
when people said they switched it, I'm like, again, these are people. It's like these people are so quick to get to Wikipedia and bring up something from like the 1940s that has nothing to do with an adaptation, especially with this Ariel mermaid stuff. It's like, don't tell me about the green mermaid stuff. We didn't adapt that. We had the cartoon that's being adapted to the movie, not the book that's being adapted to the movie. Anyway, but I go, when it comes to these certain characters, it's like, why not check out the characters and make sure we're being accurate on the first run? You know, it's like, don't get me wrong, it's hard to say, especially with comic book fans. It's so difficult because you have thousands of issues, and then you have different runs, different artists, different interpretations over all of these decades. So you do have the issue of which one is the truest one. You could almost argue the first one that comes out. You're like, yeah, maybe. But I mean, if you look at like Hulk, he came out, he was gray the first time he comes out.
Yep.
You know, some people would prefer to see Wolverine in the blue and yellow and black suit, but other people would go, no, I grew up with the brown and orange one, or the brown and yellow one. So you get to that point where it's like, well, who's technically right? And I just always got to say, it's like, you go with the one that is the most popular at
recognizable
the time. It's like,
too.
Yeah, well, it's just like, why are you adapting this?
Well,
don't you think? That's an opinion.
Why would see? This is where my problem comes as a writer. You have things that are very popular for comic book fans, but everybody else may not be familiar with what is popular right now. So for me, I always go back to what is the best storyline that would work right now.
Yeah.
Because there are some older storylines that would be great right now versus some newer storylines.
I mean, just saying.
Well, and especially when a lot of that stuff was built on the things that Hollywood is trying to force into their stories. They were already pre-built there, and they just don't want to recognize it.
They don't want to use them as like little subtle undertones anymore. They want to like push it really
put
hard
it in your
too.
face. It's
well,
like,
I mean, I don't think Hollywood is really for real trying to force anything. They just want to appear as though
They want to
They're
appease to
trying
their
to
Like
audience.
they're
be
paying
diverse.
attention, maybe? Like they're paying attention, maybe?
No, I mean, I think they realized that there is a market for things that they didn't want to admit there was a market for.
There's a good word
and
for
so
that.
they're looking for different ways to put people of color in characters that will help them make more money without actually trying to be diverse
Or creative. You know?
Honestly, what it is basically like just explained is pretty much pandering. It's
Oh,
just
yeah,
a version of
Yeah,
pandering. Just they don't want to say we're pandering to you.
Yeah.
You know, because like, you know, making a trailer and saying pandering in 2018, you know, some shit like that.
Well,
It's like it's one of those things that pandering has become that norm that as audience members, general audience members, you want it. You just want it. But as
Yeah,
people that like
we
look
want
at
it, so
this
we're gonna-
stuff harder than just, you know, I don't give a crap what's going on in society necessarily when it's being I see it on the news every day. I don't need it pushed right like front forward in the movie. You can have it as an undertone. That's perfectly fine. Star Trek used to do it all the time as like little undertones all the time, especially dealing with racism and stuff like that back in the 60s. So
Social issues, and then they made it in an entertaining way, and we wove it into the story.
and
You know,
back in the
that's what I
60s, you
don't
didn't
like
even
where-
notice it.
Well,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah,
Here would be my example of like a good story, like from source or something that's like built in versus like they blatantly do it because they're not creative or they're really pushing an agenda. Would be you have the original X-Men storylines, the comic books that come out. The whole point is that it used to be a social norm about segregation and racism and prejudice. I mean, they've even alluded to the fact that Professor X and Magneto, they're like
Malcolm X and Martin Luther King.
exactly. They're supposed to be ideological characters, but they're using the mutant idea to give people that idea. So you're not inherently pushing people away. You know what I mean? People can absorb the story and take from the social aspect of it what they will.
Right.
But then you move forward and watch a movie like Star Wars: The Last Jedi, where this stuff, you know, didn't really used to be part of that. This was just kind of like an action sci-fi adventure deal. And then you go to Canto Bight, and it's like capitalism is bad and child slavery is bad, and it's like we get it. I'm not 5. I totally get this. Like, I don't know why we're doing this right now. And it's like,
And it's the first time too in the Star Wars universe that they ever tried to do something like that, which is weird.
I mean, the
Like
prequels kind of did some
yeah,
stuff
the
like that with
prequels
like
did.
trading, like with trade disputes and tariffs
Yeah.
and dumb political stuff. But that stuff people hated. So
But
it's
again,
like,
that was
whatever,
something
but-
that was trying to tackle those issues at that time with the prequels. Like George Lucas was just like, "Hey, government's bad. Let's dig at them for."
And it's just
3
funny
movies.
that Disney would put out something like that, where literally all your imagery is a bunch of like white dudes with beards and like lazy alien construction in a big casino. It's like, really, a casino? Like, what are we doing?
Right.
Like, it just felt so like ham-fisted. It's like, oh my god, I get it. And then it wouldn't have been so bad. But they send the 2 minority characters on a mission that mean absolutely nothing. And like, and I'm mostly pissed off because they've completely mishandled Finn. Because I understand why a black stormtrooper would have been such a cool storyline. It's like you would have humanized stormtroopers, and I would have learned something about him.
Who's
and now
Finn?
he becomes the
Which one
and
was
he
Finn?
black
The
guy.
stormtrooper.
John
guy?
Boy-
Okay. I
It's
don't
John Boyega.
remember those movies. I didn't care
It's-
that much. I wasn't that invested.
It's John Boyega, and
Okay.
and I get
Say
pissy
that.
because
Say their
because I
name.
That's
saw him.
better. You describe him better by saying John Boyega.
Yes, I know
right?
who that
It
is.
took me a second too. I was
Attack the Block, bro. Come
No,
on.
I was just about to say, if you've ever seen him in Attack the Block, he's brilliant, and he's
was
absolutely
great.
incredible. And then he comes in here, and you're seeing his acting be kind of used in Force Awakens, and then he turns into a bubbling idiot. It's like, well, I was the janitor. I was like, no, you were a stormtrooper, and they
Right.
say that you've been raised from like childhood to be a stormtrooper.
Well, and-
there's no reason why you should be going, oh, I'm goofy and getting punched by Ray in the face, and it's
Attack
like, oh my
the
god,
Block
kill
is
me.
actually the movie that got Abrams to want him for that role, for the first one.
Sure,
And then the
but-
dude who wrote and directed the second one, I think he was just kind of like, you know what, fuck Abrams. I'm going and doing my own story, and we're just gonna do that.
And also,
and
Last
you can
Jedi's
tell
racist
too,
because why are you putting an Asian lady on a kamikaze run, a bombing kamikaze run at the beginning, and two, at the end of the movie, Rose crashes into Finn so the two minorities can't drive. Racist. I hate it. I hate that whole movie. I will figure out any reason to superficially hate that movie.
That just sounded like a meme that should be on Facebook.
I hate that movie. I hate that movie so much. They just mishandle really good characters. It's just so lame. And then like you finally have a female led, because Princess Leia was freaking awesome in the original trilogy, and
she was.
And people grew up with her like being a strong female character, and now they're forcing, and Rey just has no problems. She's just awesome.
It seems like Rey though is always looking for somebody to help her figure out stuff in her life, where Princess Leia was just like, no, fuck it, we're going and doing this.
But you say that, but why bother? She can, even though she's never flown, she can drive the Millennium Falcon better than Han Solo. What? Okay. Never didn't even believe the Force was a thing or the Jedi were a myth, and all of a sudden she's the best Force user in the universe, beats Kylo Ren with a lightsaber.
Yeah.
And it's like,
I mean, Han Solo didn't even know what the Force was either, but they at least built him learning it in 3 movies and not just one.
And I just go, I don't. Is that a strong female character if she can just literally do anything and doesn't overcome any real obstacles? Is that like empowering? I think that's condescending, in my opinion.
It can be condescending. Now I cannot speak too much to this because I didn't see the last movie. But I going back to the fact, like writing to me when you're developing characters. Every character, good or bad, should have a flaw because that's how we identify with the person. So if you don't have a flaw and you're just built to, I can do anything type Superwoman or Superman syndrome, it feels forced and disingenuous.
Right.
So that's my take. And which reminds me a lot of Doctor Who, being a woman. Pisses me off more than anything because
I love you.
It just felt like, and people are so tired of me talking about this. It just felt like now
No, you talk. You keep talking. You spread the word. I'm with you.
I love her as an actor. She's a great actor.
Jodie Whittaker is awesome.
Doctor Who is horrible. Her as the Doctor is horrible. And the stories just felt like they were always trying to push an agenda. They were always talking about race in a way that had never been done on the show.
Yeah.
It was always a fun show, and they had these racial things or sexist things, but they never were like, this is what it is.
And that's on the BBC, right? That's the Doctor Who from BBC.
Yeah.
Which is, it's so funny you say that because it was like, I remember when the trailer came out with Jodie, I'm already, apparently I'm a misogynist because I hate Captain Marvel too. When
well,
they
you
found
don't
out they
think
were changing
highly
her.
of Wonder Woman either, so.
That is wrong. Wonder Woman's one of my favorite characters. I just don't think Gal Gadot was a good call for that. It makes no sense. I remember Princess Diana being big and intimidating.
Yes.
I'm not gonna get kicked in the face by a runway model. Like, please stop. So they had to make her a god in the 3rd act to make sure she couldn't get hurt. It was nonsense. But with the changing of Doctor Who, it was just one of these things. I remember seeing the trailer the first time, and it's like, it was like Doctor Who made by the CW. It's like they were using pop culture songs. They weren't using the orchestra anymore, and it was like,
I can see that. Yeah.
It was just flashy and just it felt empty.
So was it like
all the characters were
Supergirl then?
stereotypes?
Now, so the first episode of it, because I'm a huge fan, I'm gonna watch it no matter what. And I didn't even really like Peter Capaldi.
See,
Yeah.
I was
So-
that one with the box where he gives the wartime speech or whatever, where they're like yelling at each other and they got to push the buttons. I mean, it's easily the coolest scene, but after that, I was just like, ugh.
Yeah. So I mean, I liked her first episode, but it's funny. The first episode with her in it, she doesn't come in until like 20 minutes. And it feels like a regular Doctor Who episode even up until the end, even though they do have this scene at the end where she's finding her outfit, which I thought was kind of cool, but every episode after that was complete pandering to somebody, and it was just like, come on, guys.
Well, it's like, what do you take from that when they're not being subtle anymore? Especially as a writer, I guess this would be a great idea. It was just like, I mean, you're not doing anything. Like, you've stifled your creativity, literally just spoon feeding your themes and stuff to people. Like, it's so lame. It's just like, why not give us a chance to think your audience is actually paying attention to the thing you're trying to show them? And like, and even with art, it's like, at the end of the day, art is subjective. It's just how it's going to work. But there's an objective way of doing things. There is a 3-act storyline. There is a hero's journey. There is yeah, everybody's going to take something different from it, especially when you watch a video analysis, and especially us being from flippin' film school, for God's sake. Somebody will break down a scene and go, oh, you see how they did this angle and this color? This must mean that when they were 5, they probably believed that this, you know what I mean? Like, they overanalyze.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, there are subtle themes and stuff that people try to put into their deal. And if it's just like, bleh, 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 it's like, I mean, what do I get from that? Am I being soapboxed, or am I being, I don't know, am I being taught something? I don't know. It's like, it just feels, again, condescending just kind of feels like the word. Like, I'm not smart enough to understand what you're trying to give me right now. It's sad.
For me, I have always loved science fiction and fantasy, because I always learned a lesson without you telling me I learned something. I learned how to respect people from Star Trek. So, but especially like with Doctor Who and some of the movies that are out now, like, it's like, you better respect everybody.
Right.
And people don't learn like that. They're pushed away by stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
that was like, that was my biggest thing with Captain Marvel, was because she comes in, she's supposed to be this strong female character, and that's cool. But then you watch the movie, and it's not her being a strong character. It's the movie constantly having other characters tell you that she's awesome. And then at the end, she just becomes a god.
Not only that is the undertone that they were trying to show, that a man was trying to hold her power back from her, with the guy always having the thing on her neck and telling her, you should fight me without using your powers because you can't take me without. I'm like,
or don't be emotional. It's like, don't be emotional. But every time she was emotional, she won. It was
and
like, what?
I saved you, and I'm the man who saved you type shit. I'm like, this isn't even very subtle. You guys are like, I saw it the first time I watched the movie. I didn't have to go back and rewatch it for that. And it's like, or the part, me and John discussed this. I'm not sure if we put it on the cast or not. I believe we did. They ended up dropping a deleted scene, which they put part of the scene in the movie itself, but Disney dropped the deleted scene online of like this guy just saying, "Hey, you should smile." No,
not the Don.
And not
the greatest hero ever.
Everybody like attacked the scene, saying like, "Well, he deserved it because he was like sexually assaulting her or something because he told her to smile." I'm like, no, he just I walk by people and be like, they should probably smile more too. Like, you get resting bitch face, and it's like, come on. And guys get it too. John gets it a lot. I see it whenever we're casting. I'm like, John, smile.
But don't get me wrong. I mean, I get that can be annoying, coming up and somebody telling you to do that. But to like, especially with YouTube, like criticizers and stuff, it's like, immediately going to sexual assault or sexual harassment because a dude goes, "I'm going to help you out. The least you can do is smile." And then she threatens to rip his arm and then steals his bike.
Yeah.
I go,
that's what they show in the deleted scene, not in the actual movie. I think the
but
editor
she still
was
stole
smart
his
enough.
Bike.
Yeah, and
she still took his bike in the movie. Like, it still doesn't matter.
And
then they want to equivalent
jacket.
it to Terminator. Like, really, somebody didn't watch Terminator 2, apparently, if we're like equivalating those scenes. Like, that's absurd.
Like, the Terminator was butt naked and they tried to like assault him. That's why he beat the shit out of him. They put a lit
cigarette out on him, broke a pull cue gun, and some dude stabbed him. It's like
they gave him ref. Plus, the Terminator was a programmed killer robot.
He's a murderous robot. Well, I'd argue Brie Larson's turning into a murderous robot too, but at the same time, it's kind of like, oh my god.
I'm surprised she's allowed to go out on like these press tours for Disney though and say the stuff she does.
Dude, I would lock her up. I would never
say-
send her with anybody else and go, we're just gonna make your second movie.
Yeah.
Please stop talking.
Right?
Just don't.
Like even the actors that
when
work
she
with her,
goes-
you know.
Yeah, well, when she goes against Chris Helmsworth, you know, which, you know,
Not
everybody
that-
and he's a funny guy, and she's like, no, I'm my own person, and he's like,
I'm gonna be the next me.
I
It's like,
forgot
oh
who
my
else was in
god.
that interview.
Ooh.
And they looked and they were like, no, we were like,
No, she
it was actually a compliment.
she was on one of the press tours for Endgame, I'm guessing, with Jeremy Renner. And
Yeah, I remember that.
she was like, they asked her, you know, do you use your fandom to boast whatever, something political, all that other crap. And she was going through this long thing and stuff. And Jeremy Renner's like just looking like away, like annoyed, like throwing shade at her basically. And then they ask him and he's like, well, no, I don't use my stature to do all this stuff. I look at myself as a normal person, not some high and mighty thing where she's been going around. And I love like the movies that she's in, like Kong was good. And I love the freaking Unicorn Store. Like I praised that movie for a whole podcast. But as a person, I can't get behind her. I don't know why. And people will say, "Oh, that's sexist because you know this and that." I'm like, no. I'm like,
I'd be good. Go watch an interview with Jake Gyllenhaal and Tom Holland, and go watch an interview with Brie Larson, and tell me who you want to be the face of Marvel for the next 10 years. Like, come on now. Like, don't be crazy. Like, Tom Holland's so lovable, it's insane. Or like, you got rid of ScarJo, so it's like, oh well, crap. And then you know, Nebula is turning out to be a pretty strong, awesome female character. It's like
she won't be the face ever though,
no,
because
God,
of the
no.
character she is. Maybe if they killed her off. And they use the same actress to portray another character later down the line because they could do that. Yeah. So.
But I guess with since we have the diverse cast today, I mean we have to do it. I think instead of just going after one thing, I think going on under the broad spectrum of what does everybody think about what the heck Disney is doing with all of their quote unquote live action stuff. I mean, from The Lion King to Aladdin to now obviously with The Little Mermaid, and then they also, I think Dumbo just kind of went under the radar for everybody.
Yeah, I think it was a big
with
flop. I'm not sure. I never watched it.
It didn't do very well.
Which is surprising because it had like some real Greatest Showman vibes and it looked really good.
It was a Tim Burton flick
It
too.
looked really good, but I think when it dropped, there were a couple of other movies that came out that people were more excited to see, and so it just.
And then you had the critics. The critics always like will rip on the Disney live actions. That's why I try not to like dive at them or even do any movie review videos for them, because it's like everybody's ripping at them. It's so cliche to do so, but Disney keeps making them because people keep seeing them and they need to stop.
Money, dude.
Like the Lion King movie looks so bad. There's no emotion in the characters or anything. Like when you go and watch the cartoon, you feel for Simba when his dad dies. Spoilers for the Lion King, I guess. His dad dies. You see the emotion in his little lion face. I saw the clip. You don't see any emotion in his face in this because they can't portray it with a real life lion. It's
well,
like
and also, I get really sick of the whole like, how is the Lion King? I understand it takes place in Africa, but they're animals. Why is race a thing? Why is race a thing in this? I get it, because with the voice actors and stuff, it's like you had James Earl Jones and stuff, but we grew up with this movie. Like, don't we want that movie?
the
Like, that's
cast
whole
was
point.
more diverse in the original Lion King than in this one. I would say.
I don't know about that.
I'm trying to remember all the cast members.
But like,
But
people, but what?
I think what they were trying to do, and I applaud them in this case, is that they were looking for something. This may be pandering now.
That's
that
fine. I'm following you. Safe space.
No, they were looking for something where they could have a black cast, or Yeah, a black cast, because there are no other Disney movies except for The Princess and the Frog, and a lot of people have problems with that.
I have a problem with that one. I think that movie sucks. Aside from the fact that it just sucks, but
the Princess and the Frog, a lot of parts of that are really racist.
New Orleans, you never had a chance. That was so rough, man.
Like, they were looking for something where they could have a black cast that made sense.
But wouldn't you argue you're not getting your representation because you're not actually seeing the actors when you watch the movie? It defeats the purpose.
Everybody knows everybody knows that that's Beyonce. Like,
yeah.
But the ones that are really watching it,
Beyonce fan, but you know that that's Beyonce. You
right?
Like,
okay, then
adults would though. I would beg that kids that these movies are supposed to be made for don't know that.
No. These live actions are not for kids. They're for people who grew up with those.
The 30-year-olds that are complaining about them anyway.
Way to watch them. Yeah, it's like.
And they're gonna triple it because you got to take your kids too. They're gonna triple it.
I'm sorry to tell Disney, but my parents didn't pay for me to go see it in theaters when I was a kid either, so they're still not getting my money.
But okay, so here, this is where I would bring this up because I'm curious. Does anybody know that in the original, Simba was played by a white boy and a black kid?
Yeah.
For the singing.
JTT did all the dialogue, but I can't remember. He was like, God, he's really fake. He ends up being like, God, he does like everything for Disney too when he got older. I'll have to look up his name, but he did all the singing. And like, it's like, thank God, because JTT can't sing. But they used to do that a lot. Like a lot of the dialogue actors didn't tend to sing their own characters. And then it felt really shitty because it was like, were we trying to do this to be diverse or were we trying to make a good movie? And it didn't feel like they were making a good movie because everybody was like, well, okay, we got James Earl Jones back. Yay. We got a couple other voices back. Yay. It's like
Jason Weaver, dude.
Thank you.
Yep.
And then we get rid of Jeremy Irons, who has one of the more iconic voices in that movie too, like the Scar.
And I have a problem with Scar too. Why doesn't he have a black mane, like in the cartoon? Well, I know they're trying to look realistic, but
that became the issue. Is you took the character away from everything, which kind of defeated the purpose. And then I don't know if the songs were necessarily. It was so weird. It was like this idea of like you were trying to carbon copy, but you changed like some of the most iconic stuff from it.
They got rid of some songs. They got rid of one of Scar's songs, actually.
Be prepared. Oh, I told Hannah, I was like, there's no way, with all that Nazi imagery from the cartoon, there was no way in hell they were doing that song in this movie. There was no way. There was no way.
Like, they did the same thing with Aladdin. I haven't seen it, but my niece and brother went to see it, and he was like, yeah, some of your favorite songs are gone, so I don't think you're going to want to see it. And, like, I think what they're trying to do is make it different enough to justify people going to see it, but what they don't realize is, like, if you love that movie when you were a kid, you're going to pay money to see the live action.
I haven't.
Like that. I mean, but like that's.
But I get it though.
You know a lot of things about it, and things have changed. But like most people, like grew up with it, watched it a million times, so they're going to see it.
I think.
And when you drop iconic songs or make changes like to Scar's mane, you lose something, and then people are pissed about it.
Yeah.
Or like, I mean, the hyenas. I mean, Whoopi Goldberg. Who'd you have? Cheech Marin. It's like an Ed. I was like, they're never gonna do Ed in this. They're never gonna do that. Like.
Yeah.
Or like
that's part of the movie.
It's so brutal, man. And I'm like, okay, so I gotta ask, because this was something, and Melissa, I think you'd be a perfect person to ask about this, because this could be a false equivalence. I could be completely off base, but this is my best example of my mindset going into these movies versus I think a lot of the general audiences now, is we obviously have the Ariel having a race change. And my thing is when I want to see these live actions, I am so vanilla that I'm like, no, I legitimately just want to see what I saw as a kid. I want to see how accurate they can get to it with real people. You know what I mean? Like, I want Prince Eric to look like Prince Eric, or like when I saw Aladdin, I want everybody to look the same. My issue was I saw Ariel the way she was, and we're carbon copying the movie, so I wanted to see how close they could get. I'm not mad that she got race changed. I got mad why? Because it feels like they're not going all the way down. And they go, well, it doesn't work that way. I'll go, okay, so then my argument was it's versus accuracy, not my subjective whatever. Because like when I watched Aladdin, I don't care that Will Smith is the genie because they did the Broadway thing, and who cares if you didn't know that? That doesn't matter. But at the end of the day, I don't care about his human form. Genie could be whatever he wanted. It's if they made him like purple when he goes into genie form, or the genie didn't look right. That's where I get annoyed because he doesn't look like my character. Or like where Michael got mad because Scar doesn't really look like Scar, or these characters don't look like they're supposed to look. So it's like, I make the argument, it's like, I'm more about accuracy and that people don't give a shit about that. And it's like, I think that's where the disconnect comes from. And then you get labeled a certain way because of it.
For me, if Ariel is black, and this is where I get annoyed. If Ariel is black, her dad should be black.
Mm.
Yeah.
That's exactly what I was going to say.
The people that they're looking at are not black. They're not even brown.
Idris Elba should be her daddy.
I like Terry Crews.
I don't like Terry Crews. I don't think he has the range to play the emotions that Triton did in the cartoon, as to where Idris Elba could do all of that.
But Mike, I'm gonna mute you because Melissa was making a point, and I really want to hear it.
No, that's okay. Like, I just love anything Idris does.
I mean, he doesn't.
Neither one of them would. I want a big guy to
Shaq.
play King Track. Oh,
yeah, because Kazam was so good.
No.
Shaq should have been Genie. Hashtag not my Genie.
Like, if I need just someone with some bulk to them.
God, bring me back Michael Clark Duncan. Seriously, God, can you give me him back? I just want him back. Just give him back to me.
He would have been awesome.
Right? Perfect example when he was Kingpin in the old Daredevil movie with Ben Affleck.
Yes,
I did not give a shit. He was awesome.
You didn't hear people bitch about that either, too. Like, Kingpin's supposed to be white, blah, blah, blah. No.
Well, it's because nobody gave a shit about Daredevil.
No one
nobody
cared,
gave
though,
a
back
fuck.
then. You know, it wasn't such a pandering thing back then.
People cared. It's just...
Wasn't as loud, I don't think.
People didn't have the way that we have now.
To where you see it blow up. Yeah.
Like, social media wasn't like it is now.
I don't think it was around yet,
instant.
because that movie came out before MySpace was around, right?
But even though, I mean, we're talking Twitter, people can upload videos now without even trying.
Yeah.
Like, people can do their phone, make a 15-minute rant about how something sucks, and do it all on their phone in less than 30 minutes. It's insane. Like, you don't get that stuff. When back in the day, if you wanted those things, you had to actively seek them out. Now they actually just get thrown in your face.
Like, but there's so many characters out there, though, that people... It's like they pick and choose which ones they want to complain about with the race change. Because, like, Heimdall was white in the comics.
But again, I think that's where you get the argument of you're taking an icon. There's a difference.
Right.
It's like Ariel is well known. This was the other thing I had the question about. It's like, okay, fine. We're going to do that. You feel represented. I get that. But where did one, okay, so it's kind of a two-parter. Where does it stop? Because I would prefer, if they were going to do it, go all the way. Like, why can't Prince Eric be Asian? Like, get me a good-looking Asian dude. We can do some mixed stuff. Why not? It'd be cool. Who cares? If we're going to go, let's go. And she also has sisters. People forgot about that.
Yeah.
So how are they going to look?
Her sisters, if you remember her sisters, one of her sisters was a little darker than the other ones, who a lot of people was just like, yeah, her sister's black. So, like...
That was Ursula's baby.
Ursula was purple.
Or you could have made Ursula like big intimidating black woman.
Dude,
That would've
here's
been awesome.
the thing with this. As soon as they because they announced that they were going to do, I don't remember the chick's name, but like she was rumored to be Ursula. Melissa McCarthy. Yeah. I was so pissed because I feel if they're going to do this and they're going to do this diversity stuff and this like pandering stuff and social justice stuff and all this other stuff, why not cast a famous drag queen to play that role? Because Ursula was designed off of a famous drag queen in the first place.
Sure.
I would be okay with that.
Sure.
That's where she was designed from.
So, like, I love Melissa McCarthy. So like I don't necessarily care what Ursula is because she's an octopus and she was purple.
She's gonna be any color anyways. It doesn't matter.
So she's gonna be purple anyway. I have
Hopefully.
no.
They might try to make it more realistic and give her pale skin.
Purple, that's where I will find fault. But like, as far as everybody else, like if Ariel's gonna be black, yeah, let's throw some other, ethnicities into this. And one of my favorite, like a lot of people did not like the movie, but Whitney Houston and Bobby Brown in the 90s produced Cinderella.
With Brandy.
I love that one. I actually love that. When Jason Alexander is like...
Whoopi was black.
Yeah.
Her, was the queen. The dad was white. Their son was Asian. Like, Bernadette Peters was in it. It was great. And nobody cared.
Nobody.
Because it was good.
Because it was good.
And it was also this too, like back in then. I was gonna say back in the day. I don't want to sound old though. Back then,
old. It's okay.
it like
You're getting older, Michael, whether
right?
you want to admit it or not.
But they didn't advertise all this bullshit for these movies. Like, oh, this person's cast is this, and this, to where everybody knew basically the whole story plot or the whole cast of the movie before it came out. So no one had time to bitch about it until the movie actually came out. And then by then, everyone was like, okay, cool. It looks cool.
And this is where I'll start to like...
It's kind of like when they did The Wiz back in the day. Like,
that's
that was the whole thing.
Different.
No one gave two shits,
It was the whole thing, but it was the movie was based off of
the play.
Off of the play first. So there was a little bit of...
Yeah, go back and watch that. That shit is creepy. That shit is crazy.
I have it.
It's crazy. It's good, but that thing is a lot more tricky than a lot of people remember.
Come on.
Hell yeah.
Hey, funny story. That was the first movie I ever saw in the movie theater.
The Wiz?
The Wiz?
Because we did it as a school trip. And so
what school did you go to?
Well, you were in the Bronx, right?
Brooklyn.
Chip. It was all a dream. I love you, Biggie.
Hey, we start going on about rap music too, but let's not go there. So anyway, I was thinking a point you made earlier about Michael was saying, like he put this on Facebook, like when are they gonna stop making these movies? And as a business owner, I look at things, I'm a fan, but at the same time, I'm a business owner, so. Disney is making millions of dollars remaking all these things.
Yep.
See,
guess what? They're never gonna stop, Michael. Sorry, I know you want to hear that.
As an industry person, I understand this.
Going to stop.
But I understand though, as working in the industry, and we all understand as working in the industry, like that why they do this. And same thing is like I always get on John whenever he's like, why? And I was like, because of the marketing, toys, shit like that. I mean, this Little Mermaid movie is gonna come out, and they're gonna have so many toys for it that it's gonna blow up, like for the kids. And then I don't think the Lion King will. I mean, how do you make I wouldn't want a realistic looking lion toy.
But
they're gonna do it. Yep.
I'm Michael.
But they did it with Aladdin too.
And now I got Miguel to yell at now too, because I understand marketing. But at the end of the day, it's so short-sighted because you're pissing people off regardless, and that's gonna happen. It doesn't matter. But you're doing it in droves to where, one, I don't think this section of movie making is going to age well for the company. Kind of like this idea of like, they don't care about their products. They don't care about the people who are creating. They don't care about their artists. Because, you're going to hit these toys. Like, look at Last Jedi. They throw out all these toys. Nobody's buying a Rose Tico doll. Nobody's buying a Holdo purple-haired doll. Everybody's still buying Chewbacca and R2-D2 and BB-8. Yeah. It's all going to be cool.
All those other toys go on clearance. But
imagine if you made something good. I.e., the original Star Wars trilogy didn't even have toys when the movies came out. That was a back burner thing that happened because movies didn't come out on DVD. You had to wait. The only time you were going to see these movies was in the theater. That's just how it was. But look at the iconic imagery that you have. When a new Star Wars movie comes out, they barely put Rey and all these. You're still seeing Darth Vader's face, Death Star, R2-D2, you know, all the original characters with all their weapons again. Every now and then you see like a Poe Dameron or a Finn or whatever, but these characters are so bleh that nobody cares. Nobody wants those toys, and they're not going to want them in 5 years because they're not going to. You don't even remember who Finn was, and it's Star Wars.
And
It's
he's the
Star
only
Wars.
black guy, so like.
And it's like, oh
Now,
my god,
see,
he's a
people
good
are going to
actor.
attribute that to me being racist for not knowing the only black guy in the universe.
No.
But it's fine. You're also a misogynist. It's fine.
I'm saying.
Dude, I don't
I'm saying
remember
his
anybody's
No,
name
no,
but the
he's
original
talking about the
characters
internet.
and Ray.
I'm saying his character was so
One-dimensional, lame.
it didn't have any lasting power
Yeah.
that it was hard for you to remember who it was.
Yeah. Well, yeah, they
So-
focused more
And
on the
they
weird face
marketed
guy.
that on in some way, shape, or form of him being in the movie,
Mhm.
and his role in the movie wasn't all that.
Yeah.
So his character is very forgettable, and I hate to say that because I love him. He's a great actor.
Mhm.
But like that's
Yeah.
what they do.
And that's not on him though as an actor.
a
That's
studio,
on the
man.
story.
No, it's not on him. It's
That's
not on
that's
him
a
at
studio,
all.
and Ryan Johnson can't write a script to save his life. It's insane. It's insane. Go back and watch Looper. Not as good as I remember, especially after seeing Endgame.
Looper.
God, I hate time travel in a
The
movie.
one with Bruce Willis.
Yeah,
I've only
and,
seen it like once.
Joseph Gordon-Levitt.
Yeah.
There's some cool ideas, but
No,
like,
it was
it's-
Bruce Willis and younger Bruce Willis. It wasn't
God.
Joseph
Yeah.
Gordon. You know, nowadays it would have just been Bruce Willis playing himself as a
Yeah.
younger guy.
Yeah.
But again
got-
with the marketing idea, I want to go back to Little Mermaid only because the idea is we're selling nostalgia. That's the point. And and it sounded like we all agreed that these movies are really more made for us. And then the hope
Well-
is that we take the kids to it.
And
That's
then
the
They're
point.
not
Kids
made
get
for
hooked on it.
us. They're
Exactly.
made for people in our age group.
So I'm
We'll
making
say
so I'm
that.
gonna so
Thank
I'm
you,
gonna-
Michael.
Okay.
How dare you? Okay, anyway. In the generation, I'm sorry. I hate to vaguely put
And
you all in a group.
I think though,
Um,
as a whole,
Hey, get out of here. I'm not
No,
quite done yet. Let
you
me
can
let me
wait a
talk.
second
Let me
since you're
finish.
on this. Like as a whole, like with us and other people, a lot of the ones that are complaining, besides like just the trolls online and shit, it's like we read into this a lot more because we work in the industry and we want the shit to be better. We don't want
Well,
it to just be generic, basic, mainstream crap.
Not only that, but I think it's because, again, I think a lot of us tend to look a little more future, like a little more forward thinking than
Right.
a lot of people. But also at the same time, I'm sitting back going, okay, because you see a lot of the arguments too, and I kind of hate this this divide now that people don't quite seem to get where everybody's perspective is. Because like I talked to a girl and she goes, well, I'm going to take my mixed kids and they're going to be represented. I'm going to share my childhood with them. It's like, well, sharing your childhood would be showing them the original thing, in my opinion. And then you go and you experience the new one altogether after that.
Hey, how about reading them a book?
Who reads?
What it was originally based on.
Right.
Okay, and that's going to be another argument. Is that we've had that
For the Little Mermaid you're talking about, right?
yeah. Well, because it's the
Because
best
everyone
example
brings
I have
up the
right now.
Hans Christian Andersen thing, and even I do when I want to piss people off online.
But I'm thinking about. But the first thing is going to be the superficiality of it. I want to start there, just because I know it's superficial, so I want to argue it as a superficial point. Is the idea that imagine these kids? It doesn't matter. A lot of kids that age, 4 years old or whatever, they don't care. They're not thinking about social divides or race or whatever. They just want the toy. They want the character that they saw. That's all they care about. They sing the songs. They see the character. They want to see the character. A perfect example is you watch the movie. When a kid sees Ariel, I don't care if she's Asian, black, Hispanic, whatever. They see Ariel, cute redhead, which, let's be fair, redheads are underrepresented in these movies as well. Because what do you got after Ariel? You got Merida? Cool. You can barely even understand her. But anyway, when the kids fall in love with these characters, what do? You take them to Disney World or Disneyland. When Ariel comes out and it doesn't look like the Ariel from the cartoon, what's the kid going to say? And then do we have both Ariels there, or do we have like the live action portion of the park? and the animated version of the park, or do we have both of them? Because it is a marketing thing again.
Right.
So where do you go from there? And that's fine. That'll be very exciting to see.
They're gonna stick with the original Ariel in their park.
Yeah.
And see, and I think that's good and shitty at the same time. It's like, what do you pick?
Because
is that the good thing or the bad thing?
Well, when they did their live action, like, was it Sleeping Beauty with the dwarfs and shit like that? Did Disney do one of those? Because I know 2 of them came out. One was like
I
the
know
Huntsman.
they did
and
Snow
then
White and the Huntsman.
There was another one that came out at the same time.
Well,
Maleficent?
No.
Mirror, something like that. It had Julia Robertson.
Well, one had like the grown adults that they used CG to make them look like dwarves, and one actually used real like dwarves.
Yeah. The one that Julia
and I
Robertson,
thought one of
that
them.
was more of a comedy.
Yeah, I thought one was Disney, but I mean, like they've never changed, like Dopey and all that shit in the theme parks. One, they're not gonna spend the money to do that shit, because that would cost a fortune for them to do. 2, what are they gonna do with Lion King? Bring real lions in and do a live performance for that?
They probably got the money, dude.
Oh, with how much they charge. And 3, I want to get back on because you said something about gingers. They do it. I really thought about this because I started looking at all of like the characters, not actors, that they've changed, like Iris West and like Flash. I don't really care about Starfire on Titans because she's not really a ginger. She just had red hair.
She's
cartoon.
an alien who had orange skin. Get the hell out of here. She doesn't look anything like she's supposed to. It's lame.
Her
Shut
skin
up.
was more Trumpian. It was more Trumpian color.
He did that, not me.
Word now.
He did that, not me.
But no, like even April O'Neil in the new cartoon adaptation, they turned her to a little black girl when she was always redhead white, right? Yeah.
But they've also age changed her a bunch of times too, and changed a lot of stuff.
Well, they also age change the turtles whenever they do that. It's weird.
Which would always be my biggest gripe. I care more about the turtles than like don't mess with Splinter.
Which is another one, like
Shredder and
that's one thing I'm glad they can't ever like just get into that and be like, we're gonna turn the turtles this color. They're green. Like they changed like the tone of the tint of the turtles. That's about it. I'm like,
there was rumors that Michael Bay wanted to make them aliens.
I would have been fine.
That would have annoyed me.
Multiverse.
Annoyed the shit out of me.
I would look at it as a multiverse.
See, and that multiverse thing, I hate
the
that
Turtleverse
argument.
has
so
always
dumb.
been there since like the dawn of ever.
I was wondering when we were gonna get to Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Right?
Michael
It's
is,
always in his back pocket.
Podcast,
Dude.
so I knew we were gonna go.
Oh, Miguel, I'm glad you're here.
There we go. See, that's
But,
why.
But again, I would love to.
I was wondering when we were gonna get the tour too.
Right.
It's like I know it's gonna. There, if you know Michael, you know certain things are gonna happen. He's gonna show you his toys, and he's gonna talk about Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
He's gonna show you his toys. Is that a euphemism?
Oh yeah.
But Melissa, again with the writing, I love the fact that you're a writer. That's so awesome because that tends to be the thing I have a lot of gripes with these days. Because I'm totally fine. Because we actually had to fight the other day. Like Michael's like, I'm sick of reboots and I'm sick of this, and the audiences are saying I'm sick of reboots and nobody's original and blah blah blah. And I go, the only reason we are saying that is because they suck. If they were really good,
When did we have
we'd be
this
like,
discussion?
give me
You wouldn't care.
we pre-show. It was during our pre-show yesterday.
Oh, okay.
Like the new Men in Black came out, right? It looks like trash compared to the first one. And it's just like,
The
if that would have
international?
been good, that would have been really good, we'd want more of it.
Yeah.
It's like,
And they
it's
tried
like
to play it off too as like, because they had the one girl who plays Valkyrie. I don't remember her name. I love her as an actress.
Tessa Thompson.
Tessa Thompson.
Who looks like Michael Jackson in the fucking suit and stuff.
Sure. Yeah, when she's dressed up as the MIB agent.
She looks like a smooth
Sure.
criminal, you know?
But like the reason that the Men in
I'm
Black
so
like
sad you said that.
the
Huh?
I said that's sad. I haven't seen it. Now I really don't want to see
You
it.
can't.
Yeah, you
and
don't want-
once you see her on like one of the like billboards or something for the movie, you can't unsee it.
Yeah.
Somebody said it to me. She's got the black glasses on in the suit. Literally, if you put that white armband on her, I'm like, bruh, she's about to jump out of the like come in from the freaking stage and like stand there for like an hour.
I think that they like forced all that stuff into that movie because I remember after the first one came out, the one actress from Dogma that was in Men in Black, the first one that was the doctor, the coroner.
Yeah.
She was part of the agency and shit. Well, I read that there were articles going on back then that they didn't want her in the second movie as a MIB agent because it didn't make sense because it was called Men in Black, not Men and Women in Black. So then they like shoehorned it in, and then they like
general term for mankind.
Right. People are just that's your freaking internet audience there. But
dumb.
people like with this new one, like they tried to like shoehorn it in so much that like they even have Chris Hemsworth make that stupid joke. He's like, he says like we're Men in Black. I mean, men and women in black or some shit like that.
It's hilarious.
I was like, that's not
job,
funny at all. It's just an observation. It's like you didn't even deliver it right. Whoever directed you to do that line was stupid.
It's like what's his face?
And like that's
Jeb
in the
Bush.
trailer,
Like,
so I'm not ruining anything.
Clap.
So
Please clap.
I didn't see the movie at all. So maybe I don't know. I didn't read any reviews because I haven't seen the movie. But
Dude,
if I watch it on
Sony.
DVD,
did you see that Ghostbusters reboot? I guarantee you, Men in Black is trash.
I actually like the reboot
didn't
like the Ghostbusters redo.
Really?
Like, yeah.
You
With
didn't
all the
like
women?
I like Ghostbusters.
I liked
With the
it.
women?
Because the thing is, it was completely different, but they kept a lot of the core things that made Ghostbusters good, but it was completely different.
I think it would have been a little better. Like the only thing I had a disgruntlement with it was that they did the whole 3 white 1 black girl thing. It's like, okay, that's literally exactly what you did in the original. You could have done it. You could have mixed it up. It didn't have to be exactly like that.
And see, and this is where
I know Spanish people.
Right.
See, that's
the
funny.
thing is you never get a lot
But
of
see-
Spanish representation. Everyone's always
Or
worried about
Asian
black and
people.
white.
And this is where
Yeah.
I feel like
Why
I'm
there's
on
no
a
Colombians in there?
That's why I feel like I'm on a damn island by myself right now, because it's like you had Leslie Jones, who's freaking hysterical, Kate McKinnon, who's hysterical. You had a cast of some of the funniest people in
That's
the world,
hilarious.
and we just found out that Chris Hemsworth is hilarious. You let them all do all this ad-libbing, and the dialogue is just trash. And like a lot of the CGI is fine, but they hit a lot of the same. They carbon copy the original Ghostbusters stuff, and we're supposed to eat it up when it's like. It's just flashy and lame. Like the dance sequence is really dumb. It reminded me of like 13 going on 30. It's like and
Dance
like
sequence.
It was supposed to be stupid.
What
I
dance
mean, I
sequence
guess, but like
Mission accomplished.
I mean, yeah, I was like, I don't know. I just don't want to walk away from something and go, "Wow, that was super dumb."
But do
It's
you
like, and I
remember
feel
it?
dumb for watching.
Do you remember it? That's the whole point of filmmaking is to make you remember that shit. You
That
remember
is
it.
a lie. Oh my lord, that is not true. Oh my lord, that is not true.
I like to rile John up with saying stupid shit like that, guys. So.
But I gotta go. But I mean, I gotta go. It's like
It's
we're
to
talking-
make money.
But we get the fight of like, where's the longevity though? Like more money gets made with longevity.
I didn't see a
cult
sequel coming out of that one for sure.
No. And cult classics are a thing. Like remember like Scott Pilgrim, perfect example. Had a falling going in, bombed at the box office, but then destroyed on the back half.
Yeah.
Boondock Saints. I don't know how many people know of that show. It's got like Willem Dafoe and like just a
That's
bunch
got
of really
good cast,
character
too.
actors.
That movie is awesome.
And it's so amazing, but I guarantee you that thing bombed in the theaters because nobody would watch that. And it's just like now it has a cult following, has 2 terrible sequels, but it's still a good film. But like you're talking adaptation versus remakes, and it's like that's a big argument that I think people are missing. It's because like if we're arguing, like I got to go back to Little Mermaid because it's again the strongest one because
It's the
it
most
really
popular
encapsulates
right now.
all the and it encapsulates a lot of the same arguments.
Yeah.
But like they're the only ones that have all 3 steps. Is that there's no reason the Hans Christian Andersen argument should be coming up with the remake. It has nothing to do with it. They go, why? Because
Unless
Dis-
you want to annoy people on Facebook, and then
yes,
it's fun.
or somehow create this weird narrative to make your point. Because everybody goes, well, Ariel was such and such in the original Hans Christian. Yeah, that's why they adapted it for the Disney-fied version to make it animated. She's a brand new character. She is her. This is that storyline that they are just completely rewrapping
not
to
only
sell to you.
that,
so
though,
the Hans Christian Andersen is not an argument. You have to work off the one that you are making, and this is not an adaptation. This is a straight up remake. Had it been an adaptation, it would have been a completely different discussion.
John knows
that's where I'm at.
John knows that I go both ways on the Little Mermaid stuff.
Oh,
Especially when I want to annoy people online. So I've used like the Hans Christian Andersen thing to like try and defend the stuff, like, you know, or no, to like go against it or whatever. And to do both sides, basically. And then like I'll see people that say, well, the Hans Christian Andersen was this. They don't say the description of it or whatever, or they'll use it to like say why she should be white, because in the Hans Christian Andersen story it says she has clear skin. That's all it says. Doesn't even say she has red hair.
Clear is not white. Clear
Right.
It
could be however you take it. It's left up for interpretation. But I always go and say, well, you also know Hans Christian Andersen's story is only like 3 pages long.
And it's also really dark and scary.
The script for The Little Mermaid is like 150 pages long. If not longer.
Because then the other argument is, well, she's a mermaid. Mermaids could be whatever.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, I've seen Pirates of the Caribbean and all these other stories.
It's been adapted throughout the years, too, by different writers that take that main story and adapt it throughout before Disney even got a hold of it.
But
another thing most people don't realize is, like, most cultures have some type of mermaid myth.
Yeah.
There is
some mermaids are sirens. Sirens are mermaids. Some aren't. That kind of thing too. Like Odysseus, like had sirens and stuff.
That's a whole different.
You know what I mean? But they've had some mermaids be sirens and some sirens be mermaids, and it's like there's so many interpretations.
And so like there are 2 Nigerian stories where one is a goddess, and she's a mermaid, but she doesn't have the characteristics that most people would consider a mermaid, but she lives in the ocean and she has all these people. So she's technically a mermaid. So where I come down on the
she's
whole
Emma Watson
Ariel thing is this girl can sing. Like, if they picked somebody who could not sing, I'd be more pissed about that. Like, because the songs in Little Mermaid are what every little girl really liked. They didn't really care what Ariel looked like. Like, they loved those songs. And that's really what the story is about, her voice being taken. So, like, if you can't sing...
But you're taking one piece out of that, because I would make the argument, because then they make the remake for Beauty and the Beast. Beauty and the Beast is one of my favorite ones. I think that's a really good one. Belle is pretty iconic. We all know the costume. We know the blue and white dress, and then we know the yellow dress. That's kind of her thing. When they casted Emma Watson, I was annoyed there. She can barely sing, and she barely looks like the character. I'm like, how did you
and see, then this is another thing that people bring up. I think they chose Emma Watson because she has the face recognition.
The stardom, the star power.
Yeah. She can't sing. Yeah.
But that's the detriment, though.
But you can do a whole bunch in post to make her sound better.
Yeah, that's true, but you can't fix her face.
That's true. But I think they also came to the point where they are now. It's like, okay, yeah, we really need somebody who can sing, or at least can sing a whole lot better than Emma Watson.
But I make the argument, you have Disney, you have all the money. You could go anywhere and find somebody who can sing just as good, who looks like the character. And it's like, it's one of those moments where I go, I think a lot of it's more, I don't like the arguments being thrown out there. I'm totally fine with them making the chick, because I'm not going to go see it. It doesn't matter. It's fine. Then I guess it's not made for me, whatever. Because if they were going to go for a shot-for-shot, try and make it look as accurate, but just like more glossy and really cool, like live action, I would have been there, because that's what I grew up with and that's what I wanted to see. It was kind of like more like an exercise in how true can we be to the thing that made this popular, and then go from there. But, like, no, people want representation, and that's cool. But it's like, don't sit here and go, well, I want it to be really accurate because I love the original so much. It's like, you didn't really love the original. You liked the idea of it, but you didn't. Because if you loved Ariel, Because you didn't change a mermaid, you changed a character that we all looked at when she was on a lunchbox or on a dress or something. You knew who that character was. You knew the movie she was from. That's what we grew up. That was the icon. It's like if you took Black Panther and, you know, his costume looks completely different. Like, you know, it's like
does look different. He doesn't have a fucking cape. I'm so pissed about that.
You're so dumb. You could take a cape or take a cape off. They've done it with Spider-Man.
He needs a cape.
But it's like, I'm talking like Spider-Man suit. If you didn't start with the iconic red and blue or like him putting in a trashy one, people would get really pissed off if he showed up in the Night Monkey one and then you never saw him in an iconic Spider-Man suit. Yeah. You know what I mean? You can do all the extra suit stuff because you established who he was and you did the iconic stuff and then you can move on. But the fact that you're just changing it feels like you don't have a standard. You don't care.
Well, see, this is the thing that, you know, actors really have an issue with. Is they want to go in and audition for something, no matter what the race or the ethnicity is, and be able to get it because they're the best person for that role. But until you have equal representation of Black people, Hispanic people, Asian people, Native American people who barely get anything, then you can't go, okay, you're the best person for this, because forever Black people, Native American people, Asian people especially, had been played exclusively by white people and have been mocked in a way. So until you have people feeling like they have been represented, people are always going to bitch and moan about, you know, this actor got this because they were the best person for it.
Can I make the argument though? I think that's a lot of projecting lately. Not necessarily from you, but I think from that argument.
I feel like right now in the industry we are completely missing the mark because we're doing it where it does not need to be done. Example, Doctor Who. There was no reason for that character to be turned into a woman.
So with all that said and stuff too, like, and I've talked to a lot of people about this. I talked to John about it, Miguel about it in the past too, and other people, is like, so with like Little Mermaid, or a lot of times it's with a lot of comic book characters, but they do it with other characters too and other stuff. And it's basically they're tokenizing all these different characters. They're taking like traditionally white ones or even traditionally Latin characters and just always just putting them into whatever race is going to hit home the most at that point in time for them. Like, I mean, they even took Bane and turned him into a British white guy or some shit. You know, he's supposed to be a luchador. I mean, but for that movie franchise, it made a little more sense for his character art. I mean, he still didn't need to have the British accent.
Gotta enjoy the memes.
He still could have been freaking Mexican. He didn't have to have a weird accent. But so like the tokenization of all of it is like, you know, they're just switching them out. And how I've always looked at it is you're basically taking a character we all know and love. And because you know that movie or that character is going to bring in the tickets, bring in the seats, you switch them out to appease to these other people to make them feel like you are representing them. When in all honesty, you're basically saying, hey, you don't deserve your own original character or original story, but instead we're just giving you a rehash of something we know is already going to make money. Whereas yeah.
And I agree with that, but until the people with the money,
right?
Until the people with the money see that this face, whatever this face is, whatever color, ethnicity, whatever, is going to bring them the money that they know another face is going to bring them.
Right.
They're not going to give somebody an original story.
Now, see, I would say that, but
even though we know that an original story would make the money, they're just not willing to take the risk on that.
Right.
Well, that's where you come in and write some good stories.
But see, on the same time is like
Help us out here.
the entire and I'm gonna use the MCU right now, Marvel Universe. Like the entire MCU is built on a character that wasn't really like beloved or anything, and they went and they shot for that movie, Iron Man, to start out this thing. They like basically were like, we're gonna try this and hope it works. And then it took forever, and then they did the Black Panther movie, which is basically Lion King to me, just live action. But like, there's so many like actual black comic book characters that they could adapt instead of just keeping going with these other storylines. Or instead of like taking Falcon and turning him into Captain America, you could adapt
fair, he was
another.
In the comic books. He was in the comic.
He
books
was
like
in the comic books, but they could bring in more characters of color in that way.
Here's a deal. I gotta go. One, again, the reason why I said projecting a second ago is because I understand that people want representation and they want to see it a lot, but there's so much media coming out now, and not only that, we've had a lot of good media in the past. I don't think people are seeking it. Like this whole nonsense about we've never had strong female characters, we've never had strong black characters. It's like Wesley Snipes started the Marvel run. You have Chitwell, the guy from 12 Years a Slave or 10 Years a Slave. He was a villain in Serenity like 10, 12 years ago.
Who's that?
Great. The guy who played
he's Mordo in
Doctor Strange.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know how to say his name.
Yeah.
I know, right? L4. He's also Scar in Lion King.
And the new one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I mean you have a lot of and one of my favorites is Will Smith. Will Smith, iRobot, Independence Day, Men in Black. I remember Men in Black was so not a thing when I was a kid until you saw it.
I would say against that though, because a lot of people always say Will Smith. Even his wife said, there's more than Will Smith as a black actor.
But you think that's fair to take that away from him because he was iconic and he was a good fucking actor?
Right.
Like, that just seems kind of shitty. And especially because it's like, again...
That's the thing, though, is that's the big problem is people try and take away from those actors because they've done mainstream stuff or big things.
But that's why I'm saying
known.
I think audiences are very superficial now with that kind of stuff. I want it to be good. I don't care about representation because I want it to be good. Men in Black was not good because Will Smith was black. Will Smith was the everyman. That was the point of him in that story. He was supposed to be the everyman who comes from, he doesn't know about aliens. He doesn't know about all this stuff. He comes in, and I'm supposed to feel represented from him because I'm a Luddite when it comes to aliens, right? Or am I crazy?
What you're saying is where we should strive to be.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
We should strive to the point where we just want good stories. Like I watch Korean shows, I watch Spanish shows on mute, and I because I can't speak Spanish, and I just watch.
Okay.
I don't know what that means.
He said why?
Telenovela on NBC with Eva Longoria was one of the quickest things that got canceled. That is nonsense.
Show.
I love that show.
That was a great show.
God, I love that show.
The thing is, like, that's where we strive to be. That's where we should be at. Is you're just telling really great fucking stories where it doesn't matter who is playing what, but and I feel bad about saying this, kind of, sort of, because we're really not there yet because people have not had representation. And forget about black people, because there are a lot of
there's so many cultures out there that don't
had any type of representation at all. I would love to see a great show with some Native American people. That we have some really great Native American actors.
Just wait till they do Pocahontas and screw it up.
They already did. It's called Avatar.
So until you get to the point, and I would rather see original stories, but because we're in this Me Too diversity movement thing, networks and studios are like, okay, I see what's going on socially now, so let's put something together where we can do this, and we'll see how that goes before we even think about giving somebody their own show or anything like that, because that's all we as humans really want. We just really want good stories. We come from a society where stories are everything, and so we don't care, but people who got money, they care. So until they are no longer in power, until people with more sense are in power, it's just going to be how it's going to be.
So,
but don't you think we should put the responsibility on the audience to not be so superficial? Because I do love the fact that you talk about story, because people kind of forget, like, stories were before the written word, and somehow those stories still exist before you could actually write them down. And I think that's the part people forget. Like, these stories are way more important than people will ever give them credit for. They're like, no, they're supposed to be entertainment, turn your brain off, blah blah blah. And it's like, you don't, like, how many real lives and history has been changed because a sequence of movies came out? Original trilogy.
How much technology has advanced because of shit they put in Star Trek or even Terminator?
Or how many people became historians or went off and did archaeology stuff because of Indiana Jones, because they wanted to be cool. I don't know, like, people are building real Iron Man suits out there because Iron Man was cool and it was told well and it stands the test of 10 years. It's like, imagine if that movie would have bombed. Like, it would have somebody would have just said, well, it wasn't adapted right, or the comics sucked. It's like, no, like, maybe they just didn't write it good. Anything can be good. It's just we're not holding it to a standard anymore.
That's not. Anything can be good. There are
I'm editing. Sorry, I forgot to mute my mic.
But I mean, I guess if you put a good writer, I mean, couldn't it be good? It's just necessarily maybe just you subjectively don't like the story being told. Could that be? Because I don't like slasher films. I don't like slasher films. I wouldn't necessarily call them. Call them bad because I don't like them.
No.
So no, just curious. I'm just asking.
So, like, stories, you mean, Melissa, like, because you're saying there are stories that could be bad,
just terrible,
just horrible.
Yeah,
which there are.
mean, just like,
I agree with
killing.
There are some things that no matter, and I'm trying to think of a show right now. No, that's just
how about okay, so not necessarily bad storytelling, but bad use of your social justice things that you are trying to use as undertones and stuff.
I think that's really. I think that's kind of pigeonholing. I think we're talking like on a.
So you're just talking
basis,
a broad story tone.
Like maybe a subject can't be played right. Doesn't matter what it is. It can't be written well, I guess. And I don't know if that can necessarily be true. Just because I don't like the subject matter doesn't mean it can't be constructed well.
Crap.
It's hard. That's a hard example to find. Because I mean, like,
there is and I can't say the name of the book because I might be writing the script for it, and I shouldn't be saying this. But so, like, I have read some books, and they take place maybe past, present, future, or different timelines. Different timelines are really hard to do, just hard stories to tell. And I feel like some stories like that should just not be messed with.
When you say timeline, are you talking time period or like time travel, like Back to the Future timeline type stuff? How do you mean?
Or alternate time, like alternate reality type,
like
thing.
Multiverse stuff, like which...
more alternate, well, not alternate realities. I'm trying to say something without saying it. So
yeah, I feel you. That's why I'm trying to help qualify at the same time, just in case, so we can make sure it's not misinterpreted. And we can cut it too. We can cut it too if you want to.
Let's say different realities.
Okay.
So like maybe you have an author who's writing a script, and his script is a reality, and his world where he's writing the script is a reality. But maybe in his reality he's hallucinating,
like an Inception type of
That's
thing.
that Will Ferrell movie.
What was that Johnny Depp one? The Secret Window? Isn't that almost exactly the same thing?
Yeah. No, there was a movie that Will Ferrell did where he typed something up and then it would happen.
Stranger Than Life or something like that?
I don't remember.
I think it was something like that.
I just remember he was in.
Stranger Than Fiction. I think it was Stranger Than Fiction. I think I will look that up.
When you get into different realities like that, it can be, some stories like that shouldn't be told.
Don't you think that's a subjective thing to say, though? Because some people would actually find that to be really, like, you might have to think a little differently, maybe get something from it. It doesn't... Because it could be constructed well, just because it maybe hasn't yet, just maybe the right writer hasn't gotten to it.
Okay, so this is something
it's super vague. It's hard to actually have a definitive answer because it is a vague thing.
Let's just cut this whole conversation out. No sense at all.
Gotcha. And we're gonna go put it in another timeline, and we're gonna put it in an alternate universe, and we'll let it grow from there. No, I totally feel you.
People always talked about that book Catch 22, and Hulu actually has a series out on that book, and they, people always love that. I mean, the title of the book became part of our vernacular. We actually, if I tell you that's Catch 22, you know exactly what it is.
What are they called?
That's what the book is based on.
Those are
so
idioms,
they always wanted to do a movie or a TV show or something, and they couldn't figure out how to do it, and now they're doing it. Now I haven't finished watching the show, but it seems pretty good. So so I don't know about it depends how you want to portray the story, but there's different ways to go about doing things. So
this is probably what I would say to that. I think there are some stories that only belong in one medium. They don't need to be adapted to a different medium.
I can deal with that.
Maybe I can maybe.
Yeah. Well, and talking about stories, when I was first got the business, I was kind of afraid to talk to in front of a crowd, just like a normal thing, and try and express myself better and everything. So I joined this thing called Toastmasters. And so they teach you how to talk in front of people, and they give you different exercises and different points, how you can, like say it's a business meeting. So how you would project your voice and all of that kind of stuff. And it's all about speaking. Well, in there you have, there's like another offshoot. It's called storytellers. And it just like amazed me because I tell people, I'm going to Toastmasters. Like, you're going to listen to people talk for like an hour and a half. And I'm like, no, you don't understand. If you do it right, you can tell the story. And it's like you're hanging on their every word.
It's like, Netflix bought TED Talks, right? Like, come on.
Exactly. Exactly. And that's where, I always tend to go more with the story. If it's a good story, I really don't care what color the actors are or where they're from, or
honestly, none of that should matter, period. It really just shouldn't matter unless it's like you're dealing with like in Mulan. If they casted some white chick to play Mulan, it'd be like, okay, what's up? Are you guys stupid?
Yeah,
like, she's
China.
not Asian at all.
Yeah.
Like it would be like that. Even like the voice actor from Mulan back in the day, it was the same actress who plays Melinda May in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. So
yes, love her.
And at least they were good at doing that. It's I just hope
at the end of the day, it's stories about human beings, and so should appeal to every human.
So like the whole diversity thing and all that, that's more on us as people. We don't look at ourselves as human beings. We look at ourselves as I'm this race, I'm this ethnicity, I'm this gender, I'm this, I'm that. And we tend to surround ourselves with people who have that same identity.
Yeah.
And when you do that, it's easy to be like, that group over there is stupid, or this or that. Instead of being like, okay, we're all on this earth together. If something happens to this earth, it happens to all of us.
I think it's a perspective thing. I mean, because like I said, I think it's and this is where it's like this is where the internet will scream at me, because luckily this is also why I told Michael, like when we first started this, I go, no, we're not doing face cam, because you already inherently, without even trying, you alienate some of your audience, because some people are like that. They'll see you, and me, I'm Hispanic. Nobody would ever know because I don't go out in the sun, and I'm bald, and my German shows. So like if they look at me, I'm just a bald white dude. Hi. And you know, so
except he knows less Spanish probably than my kids, so
this is probably 100% true. And because of that, already anything that comes out of my mouth is already being dissected or not even listened to just inherently because of it. And I think it's a perspective thing because I grew up on army bases most of my life because of my dad. So I've had diversity in my life. I've had, you know, Mexican, black, white, Asian friends since I was a kid. So again, maybe I just don't think about it because it's not necessarily something I worry about in the forefront of my mind, but I can totally understand growing up and getting really sick of watching all your Disney animated stuff looking like white people. And then of course, then Princess and the Frog comes out and it's not only that we got our first Black princess, but we got it in a shitty movie that feels a little subconsciously racist.
Yeah.
And sometimes at the forefront really
overtly racist.
Yeah. I was like, fuck the lightning bug. Are you kidding me right now? Like squish him 5 minutes in, please. Jesus. Like,
so
like,
I'm kind of on the same path with, you want to go?
Yes.
I like how you raised your hand as if we're in class. It's adorable.
Well, I started waving goodbye, and then I was just gonna kind of.
All right, you gotta head out.
My own transition, you know. So it was nice talking to you guys. Nice meeting you.
Yeah, thank you.
Miguel's gotta get to work. Boo.
Yeah, I know. Well, as you can see, I bet you guys actually watching me edit while I was doing it. So.
All right, man.
So that's how goofy I look when I'm normally editing.
Well, we hope it's not the last time we hear from you. Thank you for keeping our diversity numbers up so people take us seriously for about 2 seconds. And I hope you feel represented, Miguel, to the best of our ability.
Wherever I go, I represent.
Yeah, boy. Yeah, boy.
What I do.
That's it.
All right. You guys have a wonderful day.
All right, later, Miguel.
You too. Take care.
All right. Bye-bye.
All right, so I want to jump on the side back end of you too, John, where you were talking about like your background and shit like that with cultures and stuff. Like for me, and this might sound like I was sheltered or some shit, but I was raised around every different kind of race, like even Lebanese and shit like that in the city I grew up in, and I never really saw racism as hard as I have until I turned about 19, which is crazy for someone who hung around everybody of every kind of race. I never really saw it. Even when we would get pulled over by cops and shit, like I never really saw that shit. And I was hanging out with my black friends or my Mexican friends and all that stuff. And so I never really grasped it until I was basically an adult as to like, oh, because then I started seeing like mannerisms other people were doing around certain cultures and shit like that. And to see it be like such a big thing now in media, because I never, there were undertones in the shit when you're younger, but you don't catch every single little thing. And as being somebody who was with such a diverse culture of people, I mean, even when I went to West Virginia, I was around just a bunch of hippie guys, you know? So I was even around stoners of all descents, religious people, everything, Republicans, Democrats, all that bullshit. So I got everything, which probably fucked my personality up to the point where I'm just like, I have everything in me, and it kind of makes me stupid. But so yeah, when I see the media nowadays like so forced down our throats, it's like I don't understand it, and that's why I attribute the whole like the tokenization to a lot of the characters, and then of course the pandering crap that Hollywood is always going to do. If even after like this phase of like, it seems like they're in high school, like they go through phases, you know, like they're going through their race and sexuality and gender phase right now. And once they're done with that, then they'll go back to like, oh, maybe we should actually market this for kids, since these are kids movies, these are kids stories in Disney's perspective anyway.
Well,
so
my problem becomes, again, it's like, if you're gonna use that mentality, at what point are you just being an asshole no matter what?
Yeah.
You know, it's like when you open yourself up for that.
I'd rather you be an asshole no matter what.
No matter what.
That's why I love South Park.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you.
I I mean, it's just clear across the board that they don't care, and they go after everybody.
Yeah,
because I
appreciate that more.
That's what you should do. You shouldn't
Yeah.
focus on one group. You go after everyone if you're gonna do it. Why the fuck not?
Because it removes your integrity. It removes any weight that you have to say. If you're not willing to say it about yourself or anybody else, it's like, why bother? Like, I don't care about your opinion if you're going to change it based on the room you're standing in.
Yeah.
It just seems really disingenuous. And like, because I would make the argument now, it's like with, yeah, okay, fine, we're doing race bending. That's cool. At what point do people hate getting old, and every storyline when about being old is recapturing your youth? Why don't we have older characters in cartoons that we care about? Like, why isn't Disney moving older people? Is that a thing?
Did they do Up or no? But that was a while ago.
That was Pixar, yeah.
Oh, that was okay, yeah.
So yeah, Disney Pixar. Yeah. But I'm saying, like, there's one movie you're thinking about.
Right.
Like,
that's the only one I can think of.
You know what I mean? But again, it's like where I talk about this stuff, it's like I hate the fact that we talk about it because it shouldn't be the talk. It should be something that can stand. This story should stand the test of time no matter who the actor is, and that's because they don't care about writing for it. They care about the marketing portion of it. Think about Looney Tunes, because I loved how you talked about how like you can like the subtext. You can watch Looney Tunes as a 4-year-old and go, oh, haha, Dynamite, Roadrunner's a jerk, blah, 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 blah. You go back and watch that stuff now, there's so much more stuff that's been recontextualized because you've learned things I mean, who thought we'd grow up and know what Mussolini was, or like certain like Broadway songs or Sweeney Todd because, you know, Bugs Bunny's doing stuff with Elmer Fudd. I knew all this stuff subconsciously without even knowing it. So someday I saw Sweeney Todd, I'm like, oh, no way.
Right.
Now, granted, you get some really bad stuff like Dumbo, where you have some really racist ass crows and like some really crazy stuff going on.
Yeah.
But you also have LSD trips that like, you know, that was going on. LSD drug testing back in the day. Albert Einstein references. Like,
dude,
I mean,
Animaniacs did all that shit too, like hardcore.
Yeah.
And they did it more openly too, so it's like you didn't have to really think hard if you were an adult watching that shit.
Yeah. And I think the problem is again, people don't look at it as like it's social commentary. The writers who are writing these things grew up in these times or are writing about those times, because what do they always say about a good writer? You write about what you know.
You know.
That's what you do. And so I don't know. I guess I will always go back to I just want something good. I want to watch it and take some, like Into the Spider-Verse, like it made me like cartoons again. Greatest Showman made me like movies again. And then like the argument is, well, you know, P.T. Barnum's a jerk and this is a misrepresentation of who. I'm like, I'm sorry, you never bothered me. I never went back there. I don't know who he is. This isn't a biopic. This is a musical. So I love this movie. I think it's great. Now, if they made like a biopic of him or like a documentary of him and they painted him as this great guy, then yeah, this is completely off base. It's propaganda. This is wrong.
It would have been like when dude from High School Musical played was it Dahmer?
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
Like I watched that movie, and like so the director who directed that also directed the documentary that's on Netflix too.
Okay.
And so they like actually use like real footage from that time to show like his court shit and stuff, which is kind of cool. They mix it in. But like you could tell this guy was obsessed with Dahmer by the way he directed the movie, because it's not till the end of the movie that you see Dahmer as like a force to not be reckoned with, like somebody scary. Like everything else is just romanticizes him for everything he does in his life. Which you could say that's a good storytelling, because you don't ever find out. Like Dahmer never actually openly admitted to anything. Yeah. So it could be good storytelling, but at the same time, it's like, I should not feel like, is this guy not guilty for real? Like at the end of the movie, you know?
But I would argue good storytelling makes you ask those questions. Because that was the whole point of the serial killer. It's like sometimes a lot of people have, especially movies, like they paint these serial killers and stuff as these like demonic looking people who are really deranged, or, you know, you can see it in their eyes when they come. No, a lot of people tend to be really charming. Or like, you know, what's the number one thing when somebody sees their wife get murdered and there's something, it's like the neighbors go, oh my gosh, I never, like, you just seem like such. It's like, I think it's important to have these things represented because they really happen.
Right.
And if you're willing to make the rest of the world naive to these things, that's really dangerous, I think, for critical thinking and you know, the evolution of I don't know, just society in itself. If you're not willing to take a look at stuff, you have people believing that the Holocaust doesn't exist.
Can
that the Earth
they
is
do a
flat. You know
biopic
what I mean?
on Weinstein already? Like,
They'll probably get there, I'm sure.
they just need to do a biopic on him just to get it over with.
They have a movie coming out about him.
Do they?
It's actually in the works.
I mean, that's another tale as old as time. Sorry to steal that from
We've
Beauty
seen that
Beauty and the Beast.
before. It's just not with like somebody publicly known. Like usually they make up characters for the movie. Yeah. Watch, his name's gonna be a producer credit on it.
Yeah. Well, because then we also did get into the talk, Michael, about like, where does the insanity stop with the casting portion of it?
Yeah.
Not even just the like, what are we going to make the characters look like, but now we're having issues of that. People are mad because we're going to have a transgender character in the movie, but not being played by an actually transgender person.
Which I was talking. I wish Miguel was still here because I was talking to him yesterday about this in person. Because they have that whole ScarJo stuff that went on where she had to drop out of the role because everyone was complaining about, you know, she's not transgender. She shouldn't play a transgender character. We need a transgender actor to do it. Like, one, how many openly transgender people are there in Hollywood that would say that? And two, are they good enough to play that role? Like, it's not about your sexual, like, Neil Patrick Harris played a straight guy on TV for years. And no straight guy.
And you believed it too.
No straight guy coalition came out saying, "Oh, we shouldn't have a straight guy or a gay guy portraying a straight guy on TV." No, it's stupid. Like, they're actors; they're paid to portray something that they're not in real life. It's like I told John and Miguel yesterday. I think I told you. Like, if we're gonna go that route, then every serial killer movie should cast a real serial killer to play the serial killer. It's a stretch,
I get it.
but it's also
I
like,
get it that
you
it's
get
hyperbolic, but I mean, honestly, that's the road you go to, and it's like, I hate.
They did do that though on Supergirl. They have a transgender superhero character on there, and they casted a real transgender girl. I don't remember if it's like if they were a boy and another girl. I'm not sure.
But I
how
would
that
never
works,
know
but
that in real life unless
girl.
I looked. It wouldn't matter.
Like, I
so
looked
it's
it
like,
up because I was like, well, I wonder if this actor is, because I know how this show works. And so I looked it up, and like, it's like a really famous person from, like, I don't know, YouTube or some shit that they casted into the role. But they actually can play the character. It's like you're not gonna always get that. So it's one of those toss-ups where people are like, well, I was gonna bring this up too because it's not always about race, but gender or sexuality as well. It's like we had Eddie Redmayne played the Danish girl. He's not transgender.
Who should have been the doctor, by the way. God, what a miss. After I saw him in Fantastic Beasts, I go, this movie's trash, but he would have been one of the best doctors ever.
Dude, Jared Leto even played a transgender person in the Dallas Buyers Club, I think it was.
Yep.
Yeah.
So it's like, so now we're just gonna bitch because it's a little pretty white girl that's doing it now.
I feel like as far as gender is concerned,
it's not necessarily gender, but sexuality too.
I mean, gender and sexuality, and this is where it gets tricky because I feel more like you do in this regard, that we don't really have that many transgender actors,
especially they're open about
They're
being
open.
transgender.
Yeah. So it's hard. It's a bit hard. I mean, you can go outside in Hollywood on any street and be able to find 10 actors who are almost any race.
That'll fit whatever you need them to fit, really.
That'll fit.
Yeah.
But like, as far as when you come into gender and sexuality shouldn't play any part in it at all.
Right.
Because that's just the dumbest thing. I get
And they
the
do it
gender
all the
argument.
time.
They
And
do. I get the gender argument, but
I will stand up for
Sexuality
one role that they did cast based on sexuality was Ruby Rose as Batgirl or Batwoman, who is a gay character and she's gay in real life. But then people still tried to give her shit because they were like, well, she's not really gay in real life. I'm like, Yes, she is. She is, totally is, and she's good for the part.
I thought that was such a great casting.
Right.
I still don't get that. I still don't get why people are giving her shit about it. I thought she was
So
great. She's not a solid
I
actress,
don't
but like
mind
it's the CW.
casting, but I think you guys are talking about what's on the CW,
Yeah.
right? Or coming out.
Yeah,
the
that's
CW.
gonna be
Yeah, I
out
think
this
that's
year.
gonna be trash.
It
I think that's
looks
gonna be
like it's gonna be bad based on the trailer they dropped. Yeah.
But I think it's because of the bad. It's going to be bad writing. It's going to
As-
be all of that SJW,
Yeah.
Supergirl.
Yeah.
I
bad
hope it's
dialogue.
not like Supergirl, because Supergirl pushes way too many agendas in one episode, let alone a season. Like, you have like your gay stuff, your race stuff, your politic. Like, they had the episode in there where they had signs saying "Make Earth Human Again." I'm like, motherfucker! Like, how am I not
so,
supposed
like,
to know what that is?
That went with the storyline.
It
But
did,
it's so on the
but
nose.
It's still like, come on.
It's so on the nose.
It was, and I don't mind on the nose storytelling, but it has to be done right. There's a way to do.
They could have
on the
done that a
nose.
lot more subtly than just like.
Aliens go
You know.
home. Aliens
Yeah.
go home. Like when
Yeah,
mutants go home from
they-
X-Men.
They could have, but at least, and I'm not gonna give them credit for too much, because when that show first came out and it was on CBS, me and my niece watched it just to talk about it.
Yeah.
So
See, I got hooked in because I'm like, I watched it because I was like, I need to watch it for the crossover episodes of all the other shit. And then it's like, I actually like the characters in the show, like Martian Manhunter. I like Brainy and all that stuff. It's like, but I don't want to see all this other shit. But I'm like, I have to watch it because I want to see where these characters go.
yeah, see, you stuck in a lot longer than me. I was
That's
just like,
amazing.
you know what? I will just watch that particular crossover
Yup.
Right.
from that show, and then everything else is just, if I have to, I'll just go on the internet.
And see,
figure out
like
what
the
was
last
going on.
crossover, they did an episode with her, and it had like Superman and Lois Lane in that crossover episode. It was the last one this past year, and
Mhm.
so I was like, oh shit, I should watch that season. Was this last season? So I watched the whole season to see where they brought those guys in. They weren't even in the season. They were just in that episode. I was like, this makes no sense for the story. What is?
They got you.
Yeah, I was like, come on. I was like, I wanted to see Superman in here.
Yeah. See, I guess,
Yeah.
and I guess to go. I mean, I guess we're gonna go back with all of that and like casting and stuff. I just kind of go. I don't like this cherry picking nonsense of casting. Like, it's good that we changed him this time, but for some reason it doesn't work this time. And the only reason it didn't work this time was because, well, I didn't like it. And it's like,
Yeah.
because when we start doing it in that superficial way, obviously we're going to piss off a bunch of people. That doesn't matter. But at the end of the day, if the movie was good, that nonsense would disappear.
Yeah.
I honestly would. And I think people, because people go off to the next thing to be pissed about instantaneously.
Yeah.
And if the movie would, like, say The Lion King comes out, right? We didn't change all the songs were in there. It looked like the cartoon. It was fine. We had Beyonce. They didn't give her some extra song that sucked. And, you know, because they gave Simba an extra song on the Broadway one and it was great. Anyway. But imagine, you know, if the movie would have looked as good and captured the nostalgia you actually wanted and the movie was actually really sound, we wouldn't be talking about all this stuff. We would just be talking about how good the movie is, how well they made the characters look, and like the actors were good. It's like, no, all the characters were bland, and because of that, it seemed like all the voice acting was bland, and because of that, now we get to keep it in the news for superficial crap. And it's just like, if it would have just been good.
You definitely, if you're gonna, I feel like if you're gonna change something, then you just gotta dive into that.
Yeah.
Lean into it really hard
Yeah.
and just go for it versus, like you said, just picking this one character so we can build controversy.
Yeah.
So it's out there. People are talking about it. And that's really all they care about is
And-
people talking about it.
And can
Before
I-
you get talking about it.
And can I put the tinfoil hat on and like black helicopters for a minute, just for the sake of fun? Do you think like Disney is banking on that kind of stuff right now? Because I mean, think about it.
Absolutely.
Because like, think about it. Like we got obviously the race wars where it's like, well, I'm just not going to go see it because I'm bitching about it. And you're going to call me not you, like in general, like the internet. They'll call me racist because it's, well, you don't want to go. It's like, no, but okay, you do you. And they go, well, because of that, I need to make up for you. I'm going to go 9 times with my kids so we keep getting it. But then you also have and then you have the YouTube people who have to get there and make their critique movies. So it's like, you got to get all these people mad because they'll talk about it more and it's free press. And, you know, even the people who hate it are going to go buy 2 tickets because if they're going to review it, they got to know what they're reviewing, you know, that kind of stuff.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like it's funny. Me and my brother had this conversation the other day. It's like, especially with Ariel not just Ariel, anything, Black people are super loyal.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if there is a Black character in anything, whether we like it or not, we're gonna show up to support.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Now,
That's why Tyler Perry still does movies.
You're stupid.
oh, stop. But so like for me, I'm probably not gonna go see it. But say there's somebody like me who probably wasn't gonna see it. But then they hear all this stuff, people talking about Ariel should be Black. Why shouldn't Ariel be Black? She's a mermaid. Mermaids can be any color.
Yeah.
I gotta go see it now. So it's like all the Black people who weren't gonna see it because they didn't give a shit are gonna go see it now.
Right?
So like,
and then they're going to be too afraid to
me,
say if it's bad or not either way.
I mean, and then like I hate it when like you get these movies that should be like really great because of like cast, and you have all this hype surrounding it, and then you go see it and you're like, it wasn't as good. Like for instance, with Us, I just knew that was gonna be great.
I still have not seen it. Is it really good?
It's good.
It's not Get Out though. It is not Get Out.
It's not. And see, I had problems with Get Out too.
Get Out has some problems, but
I loved it, but it did not live up to the hype
no.
that surrounded it, and neither does Us. But Us is really great. I'm not great. It's really good. But the great part is the last 10 minutes.
Okay.
Last
It
10
sucks
minutes
that
for
like
me,
a lot of things are like the last few minutes are like the best things. It's like I wasted an hour and 30 minutes in the studio or in this movie theater, man. Come on.
Because like
you were like the whole time it was great. I was on the edge of my seat. I didn't know what to do, and then the last 10 minutes was even better than everything else I already watched.
When I watched Iron Fist, I did the same thing. Like I watched those last 4 minutes, and I was like, I didn't think it made everything else better. I was like, why the fuck wasn't the season this
good the whole way like this? Like it's like it pissed you off because you proved it's like you could do it, you just didn't.
It was just like, we have a couple grand left, just throw it at the last couple minutes.
Stuff in there.
No, I love the idea of the hype train because there was a movie that came out a few years ago that had an awesome trailer and I wanted to see it so bad, and then the hype train came out, so I felt like I couldn't believe anything anybody was saying, good or bad. You know what I mean? I really, really wanted to see Crazy Rich Asians. It looks awesome.
It's awesome.
See,
it's awesome.
And see, now I'm gonna watch it, but it's like one of those moments where I was like, oh, I wish I would have went to the theater to see it, but it's like I'm not dropping $10 or whatever to go because
it is,
it
was so much. I'm trying to think if it actually lived up to the hype because I waited to see that a while too, so I'm not sure because I don't really remember. But I did get the chance to see it in a theater, and I was like, yes,
see,
this is the Asian movie that I've always wanted to see. So like, it was really good. I enjoyed it.
I'm definitely gonna check it out because now that the hype is kind of dissipated because award season's over and all that stuff, so I can make a real opinion.
With like how you're going on though, like about the hype shit. It can also be what I feel is bad for the actors. I feel bad for some of these actors that are being forced into these like tokenized roles. They're like Zendaya as MJ. Like they threw the MJ on her name. She's not actually Mary Jane, but she's still got so much shit for it. And I feel so bad for her because it's like the studios just wanted to push an agenda with her character when it's like you could have made her somebody completely original, or like there's so many other characters in
or just
the
kept her
Spider-Man
name.
universe.
You didn't have to call her MJ. You could have called her Michelle.
So because like doing that, they knew it was going to spark something between like everybody, like especially the massive like comic book fans that really hold dear to that stuff. And that's the one thing, like, I feel that Disney knows they can always get somebody with, like, their Marvel shit or their Star Wars shit because they own all these big franchises now. Yeah. I mean, God knows what they're going to do to, like, Predators and Aliens. Not that they've been good lately anyways, but still. Like,
yeah, watch that last Predator movie. That killed the franchise.
Yeah. They have, like, all these great franchises now, and it's like, what are they going to do? They should sell them off to, like, other brands to do shit.
Good creative people, yeah.
Like give them to Sony or Universal, not Sony.
Well, and I do think that's a detriment. Like, because again, it's like you get to that point where it's like, I don't like this idea of that we're not trying to be equal anymore. Everybody just wants to take away from each other, and I hate that. Like,
what do you mean trying to be equal anymore?
Because like. The same people who are really happy about race changing a lot of certain characters and iconic roles and stuff are the same people who got pissed about whitewashing 10 years ago. You know what I mean? So again, that's where
the same people that bitched about ScarJo saying she could play any character, doesn't matter the color of her skin.
Yeah, but there is a fine line. But there is a fine line between being underrepresented and getting kind of somebody else's character. I don't know. It just seems strange because again, it's like, because then you get into even more stupid questions. Because like I even brought this up to Michael, and I think Melissa, you'd be much better to talk about. Is this a stupid argument to think, especially within the Black community? How far until we get into the talk like we're doing Black Panther, right? It takes place in Africa, but you get somebody they establish kind of in the area where the Wakandans are. And T'Challa's miscast because they got Trevor Noah. He's more South African than he is in the middle. And now are we starting to dissect too much?
Bro, that would make it so much funnier, though.
I know that was a hyperbolic thing, but I'm just curious.
I think because of the characters, and I cannot remember his name, Chadwick Boseman.
Yeah.
I think because of the characters he played before that, nobody was upset that he played Black Panther
because he knew he could act,
and he can do the accent and everything else.
Not just that, he played. Oh my goodness, he played James Brown. He played the guy 42. Oh my goodness,
Jackie Robinson,
the baseball player.
Jackie Robinson.
That was him, wasn't it? Oh my god,
yes. That movie's great.
Movie.
That movie's awesome.
Because of the people he played before, there was no question that he could handle what Black Panther was.
Like he was already holding the torch, kind of.
And I wouldn't have been mad if they had picked someone who is from any African country to play Black Panther. I think
it's funny he's playing.
You could really split hairs with that.
Yeah.
But I think because of who he was, people were okay with it. Now, if you had
Will Smith.
Will Smith,
you're stupid.
Play that, people would have been
Martin Lawrence.
pissed.
God.
That would have made it even funnier.
Even if you had got someone like Idris Elba, and I think Idris Elba is a great character and can play anything.
I can see him playing his dad.
Yeah,
he could play his
but
dad.
I think even if you did that, people would have had a lot of problems with it. But it's just Chadwick had played a lot of iconic people, so they were like they felt comfortable with him playing Black Panther.
Yeah.
See, I wouldn't even attribute like where he's from. Like, I wouldn't care if it's a South African person playing Black Panther or not, because we have a British actor playing Spider-Man.
Yeah. Well, I'm just getting.
Yeah.
I'm getting to the point.
Matter.
When are we gonna start splitting hairs? Like, I'm just curious about how close we are. Like, it's just a topic for like it's a vague
eventually
thing just so people hear it. You know what I mean?
I feel like we're really there already.
Right? Yeah. And it's worrisome.
And it just depends on which way the wind is blowing and how much you already dislike or whatever your prejudice is against that particular actor. Because
And it's also depends
Or even
on
the
the
franchise.
story and all
I would
that
argue the
stuff.
franchise
Yeah.
too, because like I'll
Yeah.
totally piggyback on to because I think this might actually defend your point and make me look like an asshole at the same time.
Always.
Like because I really care about comic books, like in certain comic book characters. But yeah, certain liberties can be, because Zendaya is an incredible character I actually enjoy her a lot. Am I annoyed that they gave her the MJ title? Yes, absolutely, because I really do want the ginger redhead icon to come in and go, go get him, Tiger, at some point. Am I cool with Tom Holland ending up with this MJ? Sure, why not? I don't care. It works, because I was telling Michael, at some point, you have to adapt the comic for the first movie to set the tone and give us what we're going to do with our storyline and try and be accurate for the most part. But at a certain point, the MCU becomes its own timeline. Like, you have to, we didn't need to see Uncle Ben die 1,000 times again because he's already been established in the universe. So we just needed him to be introduced to the other characters, not be introduced as Spider-Man, but be introduced as Spider-Man to the other characters in the thing, in my opinion.
Like,
So
we didn't
now-
need to see Spider-Man be bit by a spider again either. Or any of
we
that
don't need
crap.
all that.
We don't need
We
all
just
that shit.
we
Even
assumed
though-
we've already had all that happen because we know the story.
And that was like a complaint that people had online about the first one. I was like, we don't need it. He legit
Which they-
told Tony Stark, I got bit by some spider.
which is
That's-
hard because
that's
now
easy.
it's sad, because at what point do you get to take it away from the people who did care, who grew up with it, read every comic, did all this stuff? Because like with me, we keep saying Idris Elba, and all I can think is I would have loved to see him as James Bond. I would have absolutely watched the shit out of that. You know what I'm saying? But like, again, it's because maybe I didn't care as much, like, because I grew up with like Sean
okay,
Connery and Pierce Brosnan and all that. But but you could argue people would be beloved to James Bond being a certain aesthetic because he's a British white dude in the versus the Doctor always being a man. And then at what point, how far do you get?
like,
You know what I mean?
the only thing that was ever established really about James Bond is he was a British dude. He was a British spy.
Mhm.
So he just needs to be British for me. I have watched every single James Bond movie, and each of those people bring something different to the character. But Sean Connery and Pierce Brosnan were the best James Bonds ever. And people name other people, but they weren't really great. They weren't these suave, cool spies.
Roger Moore, like those guys were like campy. I was like, it was fun, but I
like James Bond is the spy who can get any woman. Like, that's who James Bond is.
Yep.
And people are trying to change that character because of the era in which we live in. You can still have a character who can get any woman and it shouldn't, and it's not necessarily sexist.
Yeah. It doesn't have to be a misogynistic way of doing it.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, you look at how they do movies with, like, Chris Hemsworth, and the girls, like, swoon over him. And they kind of treat him like a piece of meat in some movies, too. It's like, what's the difference now because you're a woman? That's okay? Or what? Because
that's...
It's like my wife, like, I'll smack her on the ass, and she'll smack me on the ass. It's equal. It's not like we're like one-sided, you know. It's one of those things. I
feel like women feel like that they have that foots have been on their necks, as Ruth Bader Ginsburg said, for so long that now we want to act like the stereotypical image of a man does.
Yeah.
But you don't have to do that. You can be.
You really saw that a lot come out in rap music when girls started getting like more popular in hip hop and stuff. They would do like more raunchier stuff to like try and like get noticed and stuff like that, like talking about.
Or Madonna, dude, Madonna. Like you don't need rap. Like,
yeah, but like
that was her whole thing.
Yeah. It was
but then,
one
like,
of those
people
things.
like
It's
Britney
like they do that
kissing on the Video Music Awards and shit. Like, you know.
Yeah.
Like, well, but see, and I guess that's where I get.
Well, I'm talking about like when I saying like the rap stuff, I'm talking about like how they had like the white they had like the white T-shirt song, the white tee song, and then like the girl version was like something I don't remember, and then there was like a gay version of it, and like in my pink tee, and I suck dick in my pink tee, and all that shit.
My God.
I was just like, the fuck is going on, guys? Like, one, you're not creative enough to come up with your own flow, and two, why? Why you're just putting your gender back more?
That's the other reason why I don't like having these conversations in the superficial real life versus like we're not talking about the repercussions of the story, telling those stories. Because it's like, how do you have a Mad Men if you're not willing to see misogynistic imagery?
Yeah, you have to.
Yeah,
because that's what that story is built on.
Yeah.
And it's just like,
and with James Bond though, I would say that he's not really like misogynistic in the way that people see misogynists today. Like today, it's like that's Weinstein. That's Harvey Weinstein. But that's not fucking James Bond. James Bond did not like force these things. He didn't, it wasn't rape basically, and that's what they're trying to say.
He just had swag.
Yeah.
He had swag, and women wanted it.
And also like and it's so weird the things that people pick and choose from those. They always forget that there was the hot Bond girl who could who did have power at some point in the movie, did something he couldn't do, but there was also a villainess. There was always like in GoldenEye, the chick who could kill you with her thighs. Like that was fucking badass.
And they always had it like the girl, like the villain girl was the villainess. Sorry. Would be like coming on to him at first to like try and lure him back to the room.
Trap him. He used a flaw, used in a misogynistic flaw to screw him over.
And they were using sex to like try and get him into a weaker state so that they could like either kill him or take something from him, get some intel, all that stuff. It's just he was I shouldn't say man enough. He was human enough to realize it and take advantage himself too. And to piggyback off what you were saying earlier, like, so we make the change. We make 007 a female for the next movie or whatever. Fine. Yeah. Did you hear about that yet, Melissa? You're not going to have the reverse misogyny. You're not going to have the Bond guy. Like every MCU, we have the shirtless shot because even Paul Rudd, the most likable dude in the world, had to get fucking like ripped for Ant-Man. Like, who cares? At the end of the day, or like even the best. Oh yeah, we can't objectify women, but literally one of the best jokes in Endgame is that's America's ass. Like, are you kidding me? Like, the second we start having those superficial talks, we can't have fun jokes or fun things for the time or like make us think about the social construct. How about this? We're not, objectifying women, and one of the actresses, Brie Larson, comes out and says, she doesn't want to use sexuality for this and that and all this. She had a butt double for Captain Marvel. So when they did the butt shots, it would make it look fuller. That could be a studio thing, though. But still, if the studio's trying to push this agenda of not sexualizing women too, maybe they should rethink what they're doing.
I think.
And why can't we sexualize each other? What's wrong with me being attracted to a woman or a woman being attracted to me? But the whole point is I want to go see hot people. Like, I'm not going to go to the gym and look like Chris Hemsworth. Like, come on.
Everybody wants to see attractive people on. I mean, we have a desire to see people that we know we can never get, but we have the fantasy. That's how we're made up.
Dude, if my wife could bang Ryan Reynolds right now, I would let her and watch. Because dude, I'd let him bang me. Are you kidding me? Ryan Reynolds, him in Blade Trinity, one of the terrible Blade movies. That dude being chained to the floor, looked like he got cut out of marble. I was like, bro, I had that poster on my wall making me feel bad about myself for like years, dude. For real. Real talk.
We get into this tricky thing, and especially in America, we have just horrible body image
and Instagram is not helping.
So I always enjoyed the Bond girl. Like, and then like when Halle Berry was the Bond girl and she comes out of the water, that was like one of my favorite scenes. Yeah. And I'm like I'm not gay, but like I really enjoyed seeing that.
She's making me feel some type of way. Yeah.
Like that was cool. Like, we're sexual creatures. Oh. I mean, you can definitely go way too far. Yeah. But
when it's the point, like that was the point.
We live in a time where everything is over scrutinized, and it's because people feel like we've got to have these crazy rules in place so that nothing ever happens again. That's not realistic. Shit is always gonna happen.
Yeah.
It's just we have to make sure that when things happen, we hold people accountable and not let them get off. But it doesn't mean that we can't have fun and joke about stuff at the same time.
And we should. I think a lot of it's. I think people need to be self-aware, first of all, and educated in the opinions that they're going to make. If you're going to make an opinion or make an argument, understand why you're saying it and where you're coming from. If you don't know your own perspective or why it bothers you, then the person on the other side, you can't ever assume that they'll ever get to your perspective or empathize with you if you can't even, express your opinion in a validated way or like in a constructive way.
Well,
like if I don't understand what your perspective is, I can't put myself in that position.
A lot of it comes from people like trying to get their perspective out, but they always want to turn it into an argument, especially when social media is involved. It always becomes an argument, gets way too emotional because you feel a specific way and you don't want to take somebody else's opinion, into whatever. You know what I mean.
Yeah.
You don't want to like listen to other people's opinions because you already have your set opinion aside for yourself, and this is how you feel, and you don't care about anything else. That's why I love doing like the podcast, because me and John don't always see eye to eye on everything, barely anything. But
it makes it more interesting though.
Yeah,
it's like things
good.
I would never think about. Like I would never think about certain things had you not. Like a great example is I'm really pissed off at a lot of retconning that's happened in MCU for some of the like social justice pandering stuff that's happening. Like really pushing Captain Marvel and really kind of fucked with some MCU stuff.
Like changing the history of the MCU.
Yeah.
That's already been established.
So that bothers me, but then Michael brings up the point that it's been happening in like slasher films and stuff for a really long time, and it's like I don't have the perspective for that because gore and stuff, I'm a gigantic wuss bag and I don't watch a lot of that stuff. And I should, because a lot of it's really well done. Because like I've seen the Scream movies and stuff, and like I watched the new It and things like that, and I like those. And I saw Get Out, and when they pulled the scissors out in the trailer for Us, I'm like, oh yeah, I'm probably not going to see this. And it had nothing to do with like I don't want.
Extremely bloody.
See, and I'm like, nope, I'm out.
Bloody.
See,
wait,
and
and what one?
Us.
Oh
Us
yeah, I
extremely
haven't
bloody.
seen it.
Or like
A
Purge.
lot of
Like I
people
want to see
die.
Purge. I love the social concept of it, but I'm like I can't get through some of that stuff, dude. It's too gruesome.
I love the first Purge movie is really good, and then they start getting off rails like they do with everything. Kind of like Saw did. The first Saw was good, and then they went off kilter. But I still love the Saw franchise. But that's just me.
Yeah,
That's a franchise that I guarantee you, if they went diverse with it, people would be like, well, why they gotta kill the black guy like that? Like, why did he get his head cut off and hung upside down? Like,
like you guys were saying, you definitely have to be aware of people's how different cultures think when you're writing something or when you're making something. I think that's really the problem.
Sometimes
there's no diversity in the writers' room because then if you had diversity in writers' rooms, you wouldn't have all these other issues elsewhere because. And then, like, a lot of times writers will write things that make sense, and the studios are like, no, we need to change this to make it fit this. But, like, it all starts with the writing and the storytelling. And if you brought the comic writers into a lot of this, then you would have more diversity because, like, there's characters of almost every ethnic race in comics. Like, there's plenty of it. Just pick a good character. It's not hard.
There's so many to choose from too, of every ethnicity, and I went on one of our past podcasts with John about, like, it's funny too because a lot of people just look at these heroes as just like generic heroes, or like Blade. People look at Blade and they're like, well, with all the mermaid shit, and John said this, and I went off on him. But he was saying it as like a joke. He's like, well, what if they make Blade white now? And I went off on him because I was like,
no, don't just say white. I said Michael Cera.
Yeah, he said Michael Cera. But I went off on him. I was like, don't fucking say that. I was like, because the whole thing with Blade is like he's a black man that gets to go around and kill pale white dudes as like his whole story arc, and that was like a social commentary back in the day because you couldn't just do a black guy killing white guys in the comic at that time, you know. Even if they were bad people, the people would take it as a different way. So you make them pale vampires. But shit, where was I going with this? I just talked to you about it the other day. So like this podcast was going on about some bullshit about Stan Lee. They were reviewing the Black Panther movie, and they were saying, well, why the fuck is Stan Lee even in this movie? And I'm like, Stan Lee created Black Panther? You guys should like...
Because he's freaking Stan Lee.
Yeah.
Why would he? He's been in all of them.
One, he's Stan Lee. He created like Marvel, and two, he created the Black Panther, which created more diversity in the Marvel universe. Period. Because that's when they started developing more black characters and shit.
Yeah.
So it's like without that, you don't get Blade. You don't get Luke Cage and
X-Men.
X-Men was around before Black Panther, I think.
But I'm just saying,
But he created X-Men too to deal with all that.
Like one of the biggest social commentaries ever, dude.
Yeah.
Like, come
And
on.
this goes back to the point you made. People are more concerned about arguing a point
Than actually
than
looking.
understanding the history behind something. Because anybody who knows anything knows that Stan Lee created it. It's
Right.
like that's just 101. Like
Yeah.
so
It's
like,
stupid.
people are more concerned about arguing than really being accurate or correct about something.
It's like
Because
take
people
2
like arguing.
seconds to like Google it real quick, bro. Like just
Yeah.
look at
No, it's too
Wikipedia
much
if you want.
work.
Wikipedia is not always right, but you could still even that tells you like a decent amount of proper information. Like maybe donate a
But
few
that's too
bucks
much
to them too.
work.
Because I liked it is not an argument.
Right.
Like that's what I always have to tell people. It's like I that's fine. You can like something.
You liked it. Why did you like it?
Exactly.
One of my favorite arguments.
John got into a
A
big fight
friend
with
of
that.
mine. He loved crap. Can't think of the movie. Watchmen.
Okay.
I love that
And
movie.
I'm like, okay, why did you like it? Because it's not really a good movie.
I loved it.
I was like, I can understand why you liked it because he read the comic books and he was like, it stuck very closely to the comic books. And I was like, okay, that's why you liked it. But for anybody who knew nothing about Watchmen, that is a clusterfuck because it's really hard to follow what's going on there.
And it's awkward. It's so awkward. Like
I'm
the
like,
sex scene in the ship. Why are they playing Hallelujah?
So many times to understand.
They did.
And then I had to go back and find a comic book to like get any real context. I was like, so it's not a successful movie if I can't understand it.
They did change the ending a lot though. Like the main like big bad type shit in the movie from the actual graphic novel. They changed a lot from that.
I think on a technical level, it's fun to watch. It looks really good. I mean, this is like solid, like Zack Snyder imagery, like slow-mos. Like that opening fight scene is so cool. But it's just like after that, other than the superficial, like, ooh, this was pretty. Ooh, that was pretty. The costumes are kind of neat. And then it's just like, wow, there's a lot of awkward going on.
I think
don't
it
care
was
about
like
half of these characters. Like
a lot of people
was
like the fact that it was like something that we didn't have yet, like. And this is something I hate that people say, but this is how they always look at it. Is like, we didn't have a rated R comic book movie before then. Fuck you, we had Blade 1, 2, and 3. We didn't have a rated R comic book before Kick-Ass. Fuck you, we had Watchmen, Blade 1, 2, and 3. Didn't have a rated R comic book movie before Deadpool. Fuck you, we had all of this shit before. And they do the same thing with like, oh, this is the, like Wonder Woman. This is the first female comic book hero movie that we've had. No, it's not. It might be one of the better ones we've had, but it's not the first. Fucking Tank Girl was out in 90 something, 93.
I like Tank Girl.
I love Tank Girl.
I know it's not that great of a movie, but I really.
It was a
enjoyed
good
it.
movie.
people trying to tell me Killmonger's better than Thanos. Get out of here. Get out of here. I love me some Michael B. Jordan, but 100%. you didn't like Killmonger. Everybody liked Michael B. Jordan playing Killmonger because he looked cool and he did. He's barely in that movie. He's in that movie for like 10 minutes.
Black people really did like Killmonger.
Well, there's no purple people here to like Thanos, so.
Oh, man.
I was like, he wasn't. He was bad.
I find that racist towards purple people. Then,
man, I think a lot of it pissed me off. I loved Black Panther when I saw it in the theater because it hyped me up so hard, and it was literally like, yeah, like I'm in it. I'm like, woo, and I loved him in Civil War, so I'm like, I want this fucking movie. I want it so bad. Yes, let's go. Michael B. Jordan's my dude because I saw Creed, and I was like, I love the first Creed movie, and I'm like, Ryan Coogler like mixed that hip hop into his soundtrack like really really well. I'm like, oh, dude, I'm so down for a Black Panther movie right now. And then I watched it. I'm like, I'm hyped. And then I watched it with another person. They fell asleep. Showed it with another person. They fell asleep. I'm like, I mean, this movie's good, right? And I'm like, it's like 2 hours long. I'm like, wow, I didn't know it was this long. And then I sat through and I go, oh, yeah, this ain't very good.
Honestly, I like the movie up until Killmonger brings Claw to Wakanda. After that,
why'd
it
they have
like
to kill both the cool characters? Why do they have to keep killing off the villains? Like, they're good villains. Stop killing them.
That's Marvel's thing. They can't have too many villains, like, because they don't want to keep the villain actors.
They have 400 superheroes.
Yeah, to fight one villain.
To fight one dude.
Makes no sense.
It's so brutal.
And can I say, I'm pissed that, like, because this is actually somebody. After thinking about it, I wanted in the Endgame movie, and they didn't put her in there, was Ghost from Ant-Man and Wasp. The chick that, like, basically was kicking their ass the whole time. Yeah, like, why wasn't she in Endgame? She could have been at the end fight scene, or she could have been, like, the main reason Tony Stark started messing with quantum shit instead of, like, Ant-Man coming out because of a rat. You know? Like... The world is saved because of a rat.
I don't want any more characters. I wish Captain Marvel didn't exist. I wanted my original team with all the new people. That's all I wanted.
Maybe Ghost could grab Captain Marvel, take her to the quantum realm, and leave her there, and then boom.
Yeah.
And then they could bring Rambo in and Rambo.
The only way Marvel can save this Captain Marvel nonsense is if they make her the next villain. I think that would be super dope. She's already a god. She's pretty OP.
Yeah.
Make her the villain, dude.
I mean, she kind of is the villain of the MCU.
That's what I'm saying. It would work pretty naturally.
Want to see a Marvel movie with just villains. I think that'd be really cool.
Yeah.
I'd be all about
Doctor Doom. Get Doctor Doom to assemble a group of villains and shit.
I mean, it worked for DC, like,
and do it from like the villain's POV. You instead of how we do the movie, always from the hero, do it all with the villain, and then you only show the hero when they're doing like their main fight.
Or maybe don't even let them know that they are a villain. That would be the best part. Like, imagine if we followed Thanos and he was like, it got painted that these guys were the villains the entire time, and we're following.
Oh god, it would be a better Suicide Squad.
Oh, it really would. Oh my god.
Oh. I wouldn't mind doing I would love to see them do a Guardians of the Galaxy with the original like Guardians from the comics, because they showed them in Guardians too. I would like to see that. Get to see Sly do some shit.
That'd be cool. So I guess at this point we've kind of hit a lot of the things we wanted to hit. I was kind of curious, Melissa, did you have anything like on a list that you wanted to get to, or like anything specific you were thinking of or anything?
No, everything that I had in my brain, we kind of talked about. So.
Sweet.
Good.
I got one
Michael?
thing to add, because we did talk about the forced diversity shit. Mm-hmm. So the Blackish creator, Kenya Barris.
Mm-hmm.
You know Blackish, John? Okay.
Yeah, TV show.
Okay, yeah. He had come out of is it he or she? Is it he?
He.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Why does it say she there? I've watched the show. I don't know who creates it. I don't care. As long as it's good content, shit. They came out actually against forced diversity. He said it's been beneficial, and it can make the same actors victims of it as well. Mm-hmm. Kind of like what I was saying, before. He says Here, I'll read it. If you put something in place where a person is put in this situation and they're put into that situation under the guise that this is the diversity hire, that person 95% of the time will not be given the respect in order to make a career to open the doors for other people behind them of said cultures. So
I mean, affirmative action. I mean, we've had that talk for a long time.
And
I mean,
actually,
people
his
feel like
show,
they didn't
even
earn
though
it.
that his show is called Blackish, it's a very diverse cast on that show too.
Yeah,
It is.
It's not like a Tyler Perry show where it's all black. Honestly,
Fresh
Tyler
off
Perry
the boat.
shows. Tyler Perry shows
Fresh
are the
off the
only
boat,
shows
too.
I can actually watch of his. I can't watch his movies for some reason.
I don't like his shows.
No?
He was very successful in his plays. Some of his movies, but I don't like the Medea movies at all. Medea should have
that's
stayed.
the ones I just like. My wife for some reason thought I watched those because I watched all that shit back in the day.
Just goofy
never
stuff,
seen like the Medea stuff. I'm like, dude, I'm not a Tyler Perry fan. I was a Wayne's Brothers fan. Come on, give me a break. Like, you show me Marlon anything, I'm gonna watch it. I don't care what it is.
Same.
I have two different perspectives. I mean, it's the same thing,
Yeah.
but I feel like forced diversity in anything is good up until a point, because unless you force something, nothing is ever going to change.
Right.
But there has to be a segue into phasing that out, because otherwise you do have this thing where people aren't respected, they're not getting the same pay, or they're just typecast as a certain thing. And no actor ever wants to be typecast. But that's why, like, John Singleton was just so beloved, because he was all about, let's create really good stories and not try to bite off of something else.
Yeah.
That are just really great stories that just had black people in them.
Yep.
And it worked because they were great stories.
And I would say
Or you can adapt. Or
Yeah.
you can adapt. Like I would always say, it's like, go back to Hans Christian stuff. Maybe there is a different way to tell Frozen, or there's a different way to tell these stories with different characters.
It's also
I wouldn't want to do that, because there are a lot of great African stories and folk tales and things like that you can just play with that forever. And
I would say though too, like where you were saying, being forced and stuff, or not forced, good or bad for it. It's like, back in the day, Denzel Washington, his roles, they could have been cast as a white guy too. It's like they didn't purposely make it a black role. Or every Will Smith role, like his shit could have been a white dude, a Mexican dude, anything. Like those are roles that could be played by anybody, but they got cast because they were better at that role, not because of the color of their skin necessarily at that time. But now it's like, we're going to cast you in this role because of this, even though the character was written as something completely different, especially when we're talking about IPs that have already been created and they're just going back and redoing them or rehashing them.
Well, and I think also, I think people like are so unaware of a lot of stuff. Like, just take the basic fundamental saying, forced diversity.
Yeah.
Diversity is not bad. You put the word forced in front of just about anything, it makes it pretty dark. If I were going to say, hey, my girlfriend and I had sex last night, awesome. If I said, hey, I forced sex on my girlfriend last night, I think I may have recontextualized the conversation.
And
now, granted, again, that is hyperbolic, but the idea that we are not taking the actual statements for what they actually fundamentally are saying, I think that's a big miss. You know what I mean?
I think that's true. The way you word something does completely matter.
Context.
I love words and I like being accurate. But again, sometimes you do have to force something.
Yeah. No, that was totally being hyperbolic, but I think it's important.
You're talking like forcing it into the culture of media. Like, we need more of this.
Well, because
here.
you can also get a resentment, and that is definitely detrimental to the move forward.
You're definitely going to get the resentment, but like if you never force things that are just wrong, and just minorities in general have been completely overlooked. Not for the longest time in any form. So you had to force that. You had to break something in order to get people in. But okay, people are in now. So we need to start looking at a different way for people of color or people with disabilities. We didn't even talk about anybody with disabilities. And just all those things. Talk about a way of having their voices heard that does not create resentment, because that's why a lot of things are going on in America right now, because people were pushed aside and overlooked. So now they're very resentful.
It's come to that point where people are like, we want equality, but we don't want equality. We just want our stuff equal. And in doing so, you're not really creating equality. You're just segregating people into other groups. Then
I was also saying, like, the other day, I'm like, and this is such a liberal, like, whiny thing to say. I was always like, it doesn't feel like anybody really wants it equal. I think it feels like everybody wants everybody to take their turn getting shit on. You know what I mean? Like, I was like,
that's not even really liberal, dude. That's like more libertarian.
Like, you know what I mean? It's just like, I just feel like everybody doesn't want compromise right now. Everybody kind of wants more like, no. You shut up. You shut up.
Yeah.
We're getting our time now. You just shut up.
Yeah.
We don't care about the context. We just want it now. And it's kind of like, well, okay, sure. And I mean, it's understandable, but at the same time, it's just
with the 007 thing, how they're like phasing what's his actual name? Daniel Craig out, and like he's giving the mantle of 007 over to the lady LaShania.
She was the friend in Captain Marvel.
Name, but she was in that Captain Marvel.
Yeah, she played Rambo in Captain Marvel. Rambo. So they're giving it to her, and then like the director that's going to be running that has already come out and said that we're going to get away from the misogyny. We're going to fill us with feminism and stuff like that. So I'm like, so to combat one evil, you're going to force like this other thing that, as far as I've seen in movies, especially in the entertainment industry, like we say feminism was created for equality, but it's not really how it's portrayed in media anymore. You don't get equality out of it. You get womanism is good and men are bad kind of thing.
Yeah.
And that's how
I mean, so like me and my brother were having this discussion, and this is about sexism, it's about racism, it's about every ism. Is when you have anything that's on the far right or left for so long, and people get pissed about it. They're not like, let's find a middle ground, let's find a compromise, let's find equality, let's swing all the way to the other side, and let me be in charge, let me subjugate you, instead of
let me prove how you were wrong. It's like no.
Being equal. Let's so that, and unfortunately that's kind of how we humans work.
Yeah. They can there's never like a one way or not.
I'm gonna screw you.
Yeah.
But see, that's why I like what we're doing here. This is cool because there ain't no right answer. There really at this point there isn't, because art's gonna be subjective for really. I mean, that's just how it is, and we're gonna always critique things because it's the nature of the way. Like, and if you're not gonna have a critical discussion about something, why bother making art? You know what I mean? Like, I think the whole point is it's to stimulate you, regardless of emotionally, mentally, even sometimes it makes you feel in a physical way, and I don't know. I think it's important for people to have actual conversations about stuff, not just a you're wrong, you're right. More of a, I would like to know why you think the way you think, because I didn't grow up the way you did, so I will never have your perspective unless you can give it to me. You know what I mean? And I think people are scared to do that. They want to change your mind, not give you more information to maybe make your own opinion anymore, more educated.
And I feel that's a bad thing too with the entertainment industry doing what they do. They're kind of like forming not just how the entertainment industry is going to be, but based on like how everyone acts in society now. Like as you see, like the media basically curves of how we all react as normal people together, as how we look at politics, how everything like that. I mean, it gets crazy, and it ends up destroying a lot of stuff too, without necessarily fixing anything. Yes, sometimes you have to, burn the kingdom down before you can rebuild it, but at the same time, like, I feel that these people that are in the power, especially like bigger companies like Disney, Universal and shit, that have the power to convey all this other stuff, they should do it in a way that's not one-sided, or too left, too right, too north, too south, whatever. Whatever the fuck they want to do. Like, it shouldn't be one-sided, but they all have this big agenda because the media is mostly liberal. Like, that's
money,
that's
baby.
how they are, but then they're
Money
very
runs the world.
capitalist too. They're
Yup.
liberal capitalists, and it's like, so they have all these things going all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
So,
I mean, they're gonna follow the trend that they think is gonna make them the most money at that particular time, even if the ideas that they talk about are very pure in some way. They're just always gonna follow the money.
Yeah. They make you think they're doing the right thing when honestly they just care about the green. They don't care about any of the other colors.
Yeah.
Honestly, that's what it comes down to. They're like,
so we should just all be green people, and then we'll all be treated right.
no, because everybody's going to be different shades of green from being out in the sun too long or something.
Right.
That's how it comes down to. Like, I said that. I posted a thing on Facebook one day. I was like, you know what? When I make movies, no matter if it's a sci-fi movie, a rom-com, whatever, it's just going to take place on an alien planet. They're all going to be green. And then somebody commented, they're like, yeah, but they're going to be different shades of green, so they're going to fight. It's like, well, that's how I'll put in that social thing then.
Right. Well, I feel like, what are we at? We
are like 240.
Woof. So I would say maybe just so we don't beat a dead horse, because I think we've kind of we all kind of on the same page. I think it's kind of nice. And again, I love the fact that Melissa's a writer. It makes me feel so validated.
It makes me feel like happy for the future,
right?
Of writing.
Oh my god!
Just get out there.
Oh my lord!
Yeah, I'm working on it, man. I got some scripts I'm trying to either sell or make.
Do you have a script like shopper, manager?
I do not. I'm looking for a manager now.
Oh, I think Michael's throwing his hat in. Yeah, I would say now's a great time. I would say maybe reintroduce yourself, maybe plug yourself. I think that's a great idea right now, especially because I don't know about you, but I'm feeling what you're putting out right now, so I'm very interested.
Thank you.
So what you got?
I'm just excited to really make some really great movies that are diverse.
Do you have are there any examples of your writing out, like maybe stuff that hasn't been picked up yet, anything like that?
You can follow me on Facebook, Meanderings of a Crazed Mind.
Right. And we'll drop that in the description for you too.
Yeah, I put my writing up on there sometimes.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah. I appreciate you guys. This was a lot of fun.
This
was more
fun
than I thought it was going to.
hey, and just so you know, next time, like, because usually we take bathroom breaks, but there was like so many of us, and we were all just randomly talking. If you ever gotta go to the bathroom you're on next time, just let us know, and we'll just go. Because I usually just cut it out anyway.
Yeah.
I mean, so like for real, I can talk for hours, and then I'll get off, and I'm like, oh, dang, I need to go to the bathroom. Oh my god, I haven't eaten all day. So yeah.
Oh, dude, our Endgame cast was like 4 hours.
Yeah, we went and talked. It was and then I ended up cutting it down to 3 hours, and then another half-hour like interview one at the beginning of that.
Wow.
So yeah, I think I feel like this was an educated discussion for the most part.
Yeah.
I think this proved that people can talk and we don't have to devolve into Facebook comment type nonsense.
You hate the Little Mermaid, John. What's wrong with you?
I know. I hate it so much.
Dude, that girl that they cast, though, is very pretty for that role.
Well,
I don't care.
But you know what?
It's just...
But you know what's going to happen? This is what I was going to say. everybody's like, well, she's a good singer. I'm like, cool. I'm not going to go see the movie, and I'm going to listen the shit out of the soundtrack. That's what I'm going to do.
I want to
Like,
light
that's
the
what's gonna
fire
happen.
just a little bit on that. So they cast this girl as a singer because she's got a pretty voice, and she's black, and everyone's like making a big deal because she's black and stuff. Does anyone realize that she doesn't talk most of the movie? So they just basically cast a black girl to silence her. Bad Disney.
Whoa. Damn.
So you know what? That's
See,
something my cousin would have said.
that's how you read into it.
I'm sure my cousin will bring that up. There, I don't know if you guys have ever seen Coraline or not.
Yeah.
Yup.
I love that movie. So creepy, but I love it. And she was like, you know that movie is racist, right? And I was like, what are you talking about? She was like, if you watch the opening where they're making the doll is originally black, and they cut it up and they turn it inside out and make it white.
They do.
Like, why did you ruin that for me?
They did that with Darth Vader, too.
Yeah, you gave him a black voice and you take his mask off. He's old, feeble white dude. What the fuck?
Blackest guy in
And
the
I
universe.
love that Kevin Smith made that like a big thing too in Mallrats. Or no, not Mallrats. Chasing Amy. Yeah.
One of the best scenes. The gentrification of Star Wars. I love that. I love that scene. Black Rage. God, I almost pissed myself when you yelled that.
So I'm done. And again, I will apologize at the end of the podcast.
This was awesome.
That's a big thing I've been doing lately. So,
Melissa, I hope this isn't the last time we hear from you. This is great. I'm very excited to hear your work. Thank you for joining us. This was amazing. I enjoyed this very much.
Thank you for having me. Anytime you want me, if I am not working on set, I'll be there.
All right, cool.
Hells yeah. All right. Well, here's my sign off. Melissa, have a good one. Myke, take care, and later, nerds.
Later. Sorry.
Thanks for tuning in to another great episode of Operation Babble. You can catch this episode and more at soundcloud.com/Operation Babble or iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify, and Google Play at Operation Babble or YouTube at Myke Shrews, MYKESHREWS. Have a great day, guys. Peace.